Welcome to the True Crime Cult. Here is your leader of the True Crime Cult. Ha 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 ha.
How's everyone's Friday night going? True Crime Design just dropped a new video, and we're going to be going over it tonight. And hopefully later we'll be joined by a panel. Here we go, guys. Hey, Jeff, you want to come up on panel? Hi, Holly. AR, hit the link, come up on panel. Gee, I just love it when there's no sound. Hold on, guys. Hey, AR, come on up. That's why.
Was not really talked about when it comes to this case, and I think different than our normal format, but it will definitely be informative and hopefully of value. So I recently picked up this book, While
Here's the link, AR.
Idaho Slept, written by J. Reuben Appelman. It was on sale for $13.49 on Amazon, so I figured why not and went ahead and ordered it. I wasn't expecting much, and it really did read like a Dateline special and was definitely biased towards the town and the university and also the police department. It's definitely written from the perspective of someone who believes in Kohberger's guilt. Unfortunately, it is kind of a puff piece for Moscow and the university. That being said, there was a good amount of information in there, factual information, details about key players involved here, as well as references to events that I went ahead and researched further to kind of get a better picture of. And I gotta say, I did learn from reading this
Hey,
book. So there was value in it for sure. Definitely worth.
How you doing, AR?
I'm good. How are you?
13, 14.
Can you hear me?
Information that
I can hear you there. Yeah. You hear me?
this case, and I think warrants further discussion. So consider this the Cliff Notes version without the details that we've heard a million times and have ingrained in our memory at this point.
Hit the link, AR.
The first quote I want to bring to your attention is this one. Quote, Green's University of Idaho was not the biggest public university in Idaho, but it was the oldest.
Hey, AR, how you doing, man?
Good. Is that better? It was a little choppy there for a minute.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, I know. StreamYard, StreamYard was messing up for Tommy tonight too.
Yeah, it's had some
I
bugs,
don't,
it seems
I
like
don't know what's
lately.
going on.
So, well, I
Yeah.
guess we're not donating enough money to them.
Yeah, the video we're going over is a new one by True Crime Design. They just dropped it like 2 hours ago, and it's supposed to be tying up all the loose ends in the case.
All right. We'll definitely have some fun. Let's give it a gander.
And the one with the most political and social clout in the state, end quote. There is sort of this feeling around the University of Idaho that I get, at least just in the way they make decisions and the rhetoric they use. It does feel like they have this air of self-importance and an almost Machiavellian attitude. They make decisions rarely, if ever, asking for public input. They are not transparent. They certainly lack regard for the safety of residents and students. And allegedly, in my opinion, there is an organized crime network actually running this area. I know I posted this on my community page, but I don't think I talked about it in a video. But there was this study done in August 2023. So this would be the August after the murders. And it says Idaho's 4 college and university presidents spent about $150,000 traveling over a 12-month span from June of 22 to June of 23. That's how much was spent on travel between the 4 presidents. Idaho State University's president Marlene Tromp and University of Idaho president Scott Green both outspent Governor Brad Little's travels, who racked up $48,216 in travel bills. Meanwhile, the ever important President Scott Green racked up a $50,939 travel bill. And the university responded saying that most of that money comes from donors. So Green used slightly more than $46,000 from a President's Reserve Fund, which was composed entirely of donor dollars. The remaining travel costs, they say, slightly less than $5,000 came from taxpayer funds, which I think is ridiculous because this man makes $440,000 annually from the University of Idaho. Pay for your own damn flights. And it looks like he just flew around the state of Idaho for graduations and ceremonies and whatnot. But the prestigious president did take a trip to Washington, D.C. on April 11th. This was 1 month before U of I abruptly went public with their $685 million plan to acquire the for-profit online university, University of Phoenix, which has a checkered reputation, to say the least. So this was a very controversial decision that there was even some recent litigation regarding. At the end of January, a judge dismissed the state attorney general's lawsuit, alleging that the deal was done in violation of an open meetings law, basically greenlighting the university's plan. The university said it would be moving forward with the unpopular acquisition. Following this ruling, Idaho State Board of Education member Rod Lewis raised several red flags in the purchase and voices them here in this recent opinion piece in the Idaho Statesman. Lewis writes, quote, "The Idaho State Board of Education surprisingly has allowed U of I to move forward on this deal with no public meetings. State Board mandates disclosure for matters far less significant. Yet, the State Board has refused to hold public meetings, debate, and discussion about the biggest change in the history of Idaho's higher education system." The writer.
What do you think about that, AR, so far?
It's definitely interesting. Who'd you say the content creator was? I haven't heard of him before.
True Crime Design.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen their stuff pop up or her stuff pop up, and Sounds pretty knowledgeable. I mean, a lot of good things to say. That's for sure. So
Yeah.
it just,
Continues, as for obtaining the approval
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
It
as you
just
know, you could take a lot of angles. You could look at this from a lot of different ways. And that purchase of the University of Phoenix came at a very odd time for a very substantial amount of money. So it's going to be
yeah.
very questionable across the board on whether that was a financial situation to take some, eyes away from everything going on or what was going on. So definitely interesting
Yeah.
to listen and hear the thoughts that this lady's putting out there for sure.
Yeah, because like she said, the University of Phoenix is mainly just like online, and it's like a for-profit university.
Right. Yep. And when I was in the penitentiary, we were allowed to actually take classes as long as they were able to send in the work for us to do. And a lot of times those were the online schools where someone could just print
Yeah,
the stuff out, send it in, you do the work, send it back out. And University
yeah,
of Phoenix was one of the ones that actually allowed me to get a lot of my main college education done even while being in the penitentiary. So
that's cool.
pretty interesting. Yeah, pretty interesting. That I
Yeah,
was then all of a sudden I see them as a part of this whole Idaho Ford. I'm thinking, wow, I actually took classes from something that's becoming a part of this. So
yeah, because Scott Green actually set up a nonprofit to buy the University of Phoenix.
right, right. Which I didn't think a nonprofit entity like that could be set up to purchase a for-profit. I mean, I
School.
want to call it a company, even though it's just educational schooling. When it's for profit, it's like a company. So it's very odd that somebody would be able to set up a nonprofit to purchase a profit. To
Yeah,
me, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. I think that's why the Attorney General there in Idaho, as you saw just a minute ago, was suing Scott Green over that nonprofit being set up to purchase the for-profit University of Phoenix.
Yeah, it's just it's very odd to see that. And then of course I would think that the attorney general and the people that are in control of the state's financials and everything of that nature would be pissed off too, because they
Yeah,
want money from that. If you're setting it up as a nonprofit, well, now it's not taxable, and there's a lot of things that could go into that as well that make that even more odd. So yeah, I could
yeah.
see how everybody all together would be upset about it.
Oh yeah, because you don't know, for that nonprofit, you don't know where the money's coming from.
Yeah, you
Being it's
really
a
don't.
nonprofit.
Right. That's another thing with nonprofits. You can hide where the money's coming from, where it's going, what it's being utilized for. There's a lot of things that I'm sure many people are more intelligent about it than I am. But I mean, it makes me sick to my stomach how all of this is transitioning in a 1 year period of time. And
Yeah,
purchases like this are happening, and then you've got four quadruple high. There's so much going on, and it just seems like things are getting swept underneath the rug so that they don't get talked about. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. The only person who would know what's going on is Scott Green, and he ain't saying shit.
I agree. I agree.
of the Idaho legislature, the U of I is basically stiff arming them. The U of I's unwillingness to submit to legislative approval is based on an age old and legally questionable argument that the U of I is a constitutionally independent entity not subject to regulation by the Idaho legislature. Given the size of this deal, what else could the U of I do without legislative approval. The problem with U of I's assertion is that its own course of action and behavior over the course of its history undermines its argument. It defies logic that legislative approval would be required to support UI's primary funding, but approval would not be required for an acquisition of a new university larger than Idaho's entire university system, involving one of the biggest debt offerings in the history of the state. Another reason U of I justifies its unwillingness to be subject to public scrutiny is its assertion that its purchase of Phoenix is basically risk-free to the U of I and the state of Idaho. This, too, is subject to significant debate. Phoenix's reputational problems alone create a substantial risk. They are so well known they are almost synonymous with Phoenix's name. Unfortunately, Phoenix's brand, which is best known for hard sell student loan tactics, fraud, government fines, and shareholder lawsuits, is more prominent than the U of I's brand and risks overshadowing U of I's positive academic image. On the financial side, anyone involved in corporate acquisitions knows a $550 million corporate purchase based on leveraging the acquired business for $685 million in debt carries significant risk. The details of this deal matter. Unfortunately, without public meetings and debate and the usual legislative approval process, the details are not well understood. To purchase Phoenix, the U of I proposes to leverage Phoenix's own cash flow and assets to obtain the $685 million needed to pay for Phoenix in what is called a leveraged buyout. Phoenix will issue a $685 million in corporate bonds anticipated to be rated as high risk or speculative bonds. The U of I hopes to insulate the U of I from Phoenix's debt by creating a separate nonprofit company named 4-3 to buy Phoenix. But there are numerous reasons for concern regardless of the structure. For one, 4-3 will be owned 100% by the U of I Board of Regents. Perhaps most concerning is U of I's plan to take the $10 million plus in cash from Phoenix each year. This appears to be one of the primary reasons and benefits for U of I to do the deal. But for all the benefit in the near term, taking cash from Phoenix is likely the most damaging when it comes to insulation from Phoenix's debts. The U of I responds to these risks by stating that Phoenix's current financials can do more than cover the debt service and any other ongoing risks of the business. The author continues, one of the more troubling aspects of this deal is U of I's lack of transparency and disclosure of Phoenix's financial status. Unlike corporate deals of this magnitude where multi-year full financial statements are provided to stakeholders, the U of I has provided only a one-page summary income sheet and no balance sheet or any other information regarding Phoenix's liabilities. One without the other is insufficient at best and misleading at worst. For example, the U of I repeatedly refers to Phoenix having $200 million in cash. Without knowing Phoenix's liability, this reference is of limited use. Basically, we only have U of I's word for Phoenix's financial status. In fulfilling its duties to Idaho taxpayers, U of I merely states it has done its due diligence. Where have we heard that before, folks? Where have we heard that? Just trust us. Without any proof or without any evidence, just trust us and don't ask any questions.
We believe it was a targeted attack. I mean, to be honest, you're going to have to trust us on that at this point because we're not going to release why we think
Please
that.
don't get distracted by the conspiracy theories. Just be perfectly blunt. The nonsense that some people put out there just to stir the pot.
I think I'm losing my mind.
The writer continues, despite U of I's repeated assurances, there is no such thing as little or no risk when it comes to corporate acquisitions and debt offerings. The U of I should be upfront about this. The risk involved in this deal is very high. The U of I seems to be doing everything it can to avoid public scrutiny of this action. Why? We know best. Trust us. There is no risk, is its mantra. Typically, when I hear these words, huge red flags go up. I don't think I am alone. No transaction of this size, scope, and risk should be allowed to occur without public meetings and legislative approval. Only one-sided, self-serving information streams, guest editorials,
Yeah, I heard somebody pop up, but there's no one there.
a frequently asked questions website, and one-sided presentations, end quote. Again, our way or shut the fuck up.
The house, and we don't think the jurors should walk through the house.
Yeah, and me coming, as many know, from a background of having to go to trials and all the different places I've been, they don't typically get rid of evidence prior to a trial. They just don't do it. They try to keep
Yeah.
all the evidence they can prior to trial, not get rid of it. So in this case, we're legitimately watching them just blatantly disregard evidence, even in the beginning when they're U-hauling out people's personal belongings back to them, which you and I both know police officers don't do that. I don't care where you live. Police officers don't move your stuff via U-Haul, and all the different weirdness of that. And then just for all of us to continuously be told, and I heard it very clearly in the video, you just have to trust us. You just have to trust us. Well, were you all
Yeah.
saying you just have to trust us when you were lying in all the other cases? Were we supposed to trust you then too? Because I remember you got caught lying. You got caught cheating. So now we're supposed to really trust you because it's a much bigger, more complex case, that it doesn't feel as though you know what you're doing in an investigation, but we're supposed to trust you. and you haven't said one honest thing from the beginning. But we're
Yeah,
supposed to trust you. Come on.
yeah. See,
No.
yeah, just like Stephen Christie said, a lot of Kaylee's stuff is in a storage locker, being held by the Moscow Police Department for evidence. Yeah,
Right.
they were allowed to get a few of Kaylee's things, but not all of it. The rest of it is being held in the Moscow Police Department storage locker as evidence. Yeah, as
Well,
well.
that's what we're led to believe. But could you really, in your mind, maybe picture that they don't even have it anymore? Maybe somehow they lost it. Maybe they disregarded it. Maybe and they don't want to admit to that. I mean,
That is
think
a
about it.
yeah, that is a
Maybe it's just
possibility.
not even there. you know?
Yeah, I know.
I didn't add a
Um,
little even more scary, like to think about it that way. Like, hey, no, guys, believe us, we have the evidence, and we're like, okay, well, show it to us. We'll bring it out as storage when we need it. Well, now I'm starting
yeah.
to believe he may not even actually have it. Where is it?
Oh yeah. And
You know,
yeah, and see the Chapins, they're upset because uh the supposedly the Moscow Police Department has both of Ethan's vehicles uh in their tow yard for evidence. But I've heard that the
mhm,
Chapins have already got Ethan's vehicles out of impound. So
right.
I don't I don't know if that's true or not, that the MPD still has most of Ethan's vehicles in the impound lot.
Yeah, and I think that's where transparency is really important because if you think transparency could have literally nailed a lot of the stuff, let's just even say what you and I talk about, it could have released
Yeah.
some of the doubt very early and made us feel better about the investigation. Less questions, more answers. Many of us would feel more comfortable, but at this point, why would we feel comfortable? There's nothing
Yeah.
to feel comfortable about. Nothing,
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
really frustrating. So
just like Rock Chalk said in the chat, can't answer because of gag order.
yeah, well, I mean, but when has gag orders ever kept a case like this completely quiet? I mean, not everybody's under a gag
Yeah.
order. I
Hey, Rock
agree. A
Chalk.
gag order. She up here with us?
uh, Yeah, she's up here with us.
Awesome. I love my rock chalk.
Oh,
You there,
can you
Rock
guys
Chalk?
hear me?
We
I
can.
Yeah,
am.
we
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
We're
we're
definitely.
driving. We just got done with the ball game.
Well, we're proud to have you up here with us now.
Oh, well,
So
we
what?
tried to do it the other day, and I'm glad to be up here with you.
Yeah.
So what do you
Sorry
think?
about
So
the
what do
other
I
you?
was
day.
going to say, I agree with you. I've been at a basketball game, but I agree with you. We got a lot of questions. We need them answers, but because of that gag order, we're not going to get them.
I mean, I agree that the gag order makes a huge difference and holds a lot back, but I think you would also agree with me, both of you, most likely, and many others out there. They were hush hush before that ever went into effect because I don't believe they knew how to speak upon it to begin with from the beginning. So I think they kept their mouth shut from the very beginning because they knew they were botching it just by doing the press conferences. It's just my
Oh, for
feeling,
sure.
but
But yeah, if you go back to some of their original news broadcasts, though, they're locally, they had a lot of stuff on there that they've scrubbed and not repeated.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have to agree.
I think before they did the gag order, there was some stuff out there that made a lot of sense, but now it's been scrubbed.
Yeah, and that's very true too. But hey, we're just supposed to believe them.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm
hey,
wondering if you or Robert. Go ahead, Robert.
Rock. Look at Jan's comment right here. She shouldn't be mentioning other content creators during our live, correct?
Yeah, Jan, don't be mentioning J Rod. We can get a mod to get rid of that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna send them in back chat for both of you guys right now.
Okay.
I'm not even 100% sure who all that is. So I'm just kind of minding my own business and chat with you guys. So
Yeah, same here. Yeah, and it's
uh,
an honor to have you back up here on the panel again, AR.
hey, I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys allowed me to come on. You guys know I absolutely respect all the. I love listening to you guys. Just because I distance myself a little bit from a case doesn't mean I don't hear what you guys have to say, and definitely stand to always support you guys and try to help you guys do better. It just means I'm taking a back seat for a few minutes. That's all.
Yeah.
Some people
Hey,
don't quite understand that, but
yeah. Let's get back in this video real quick. It's a 24-minute video, and we're already 11 minutes into it.
Well, that was a bit of a rant. Anyway, back to the book. So I didn't realize that the governor of Idaho is actually a Vandal and a Moscow native. Quote, the popular Republican governor of Idaho, Brad Little, had been in regular contact with the state police and had made $1 million funding pledge for expenses related to the investigation. Little had been raised on his family's sheep and cattle ranching operation and had studied agribusiness at the University of Idaho. His connection to the people of Moscow went back half a century, end quote. Yep, you heard that. The governor graduated in the University of Idaho class of 1976, and he was a brother of the Phi Delta Theta fraternity. And get this, that's the same fraternity that Hunter Johnson belonged to. Hunter Johnson, the 911 caller who reportedly found the bodies. So I made this visual to keep track of all these characters who happen to have graduated from the University of Idaho. So when we have the lead investigator, the police chief, the coroner, the mayor, the prosecutor, the university president, the judge, the governor, and even the defense attorney all went to the school where this happened. Coupled with all this courtroom fuckery and investigative bias, it's obvious that there is collusion happening in this case. It's all just for show to protect the university and make the bad press go away, all while denying the truth and justice to the victims and citizens. It's honestly disgraceful.
What do you think about that, Rock Chalk?
Barbie is
Rock Chalk, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm a watching. It's
What do you think
interesting.
about that entire circle of people that went to the University of Idaho that's involved in this damn case?
I got many questions. Everybody's suspect to me.
Oh
I
yeah.
got to agree with
so
you. I
much more
just
than that.
The next thing I want to talk about here is an event that happened in 2021 involving Kaylee and a missing person named Sharon Archer, who went missing on September 27th, 2021 in Kaylee's hometown of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Quote, Sergeant Dustin Blaker, one of the officers who would later become an investigator on Kaylee's murder case, had spoken to her over the phone. And by the way, this was on October 5th that she called. So this was a little over a week after Archer went missing. Kaylee reported that she'd seen 62-year-old Sharon Archer, whom she'd recognized from a missing persons flyer, staring at her and her boyfriend Jack as they shopped. She sent a photo of the flyer to Blaker, hoping he could investigate, but the woman was no longer inside the Walmart by the time police could respond. 3 weeks later, Sharon Archer was found drowned in a 400-acre Fernan Lake, which is in the mountains outside of Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene police have pulled a car from the Fernan Lake, which belongs to a missing Idaho woman Sharon Archer. They say a body was found inside. Police tell us that a person called the department to report something white off the boat docks, but it could only be seen when the sun hit it. The person saw posts on Facebook about search parties for Archer and decided to call in the object yesterday. When police arrived, they were able to locate the white 2013 Toyota Highlander about 150 feet from the shore. That car was last seen driven by Archer on September 28th. Police have not released the identity of the body found inside, and the case, including the cause of death, is still pending further investigation.
There hasn't been an update on her cause of death or anything like that, so I would assume they wrote it off as an accident or self-inflicted. What's baffling to me here is that she was actually considered an endangered missing person based on several medical conditions. This includes diabetes and brain damage from a car accident decades earlier. Therefore, this situation required a lot more urgency than it seems like it was granted. According to Blaker's report, officers responded to the Walmart to see if they could find the Toyota Highlander Archer was reported to be in. We did not find the vehicle. I had my officers check all of the hotels in town to see if she was staying at one of them. We did not find anything. I went to contact one of the managers for Walmart. I asked the manager if I could review the video surveillance camera to see if the person Kaylee reported was in fact Archer. The manager told me there was currently no one in the store who had access to the video surveillance cameras. I was given an email to send a request to someone who could access it on October 6th. I will review the video if and when we are able to get it. So MPD, did you ever follow up with that? Go back to Walmart, see if they could pull parking lot footage? No, didn't think so. Kaylee felt strongly enough that she saw the missing woman. And if they never recovered or reviewed that footage, MPD acted negligently. And it's doubtful this woman's family will never know what happened to her because, of course, Moscow PD only investigates what they want to. We all know that if Sharon is seen on that footage in Walmart, then foul play has to be considered because someone could easily place her body in the car and drive it off this little ramp here and just wait for it to be found. This actually reminds me a lot of the Kylie Rodney case, which Kaylee herself actually was really interested in. That happened in August 2022 in Truckee, California, which is actually right by Reno, which is where Bethany lives. So there's kind of connections all over the place. But Kylie was a 16-year-old girl who went missing after a high school party in the woods where there was drinking and drug use. This was at Prosser Campground in Truckee, and her body was found a couple weeks later in her SUV that was submerged in the lake right by where she went missing. Even though law enforcement had searched that very body of water a couple different times, they kind of just blamed it on visibility issues. They didn't really have an answer why it wasn't found in the couple weeks when there were so many people searching this lake. They just expected us to believe that she had been there the whole time and somehow everyone just missed her. And it seems that that's the same thing that they're suggesting in the Sharon Archer case, that nobody saw the white SUV in the lake until a couple weeks later because it was only supposedly visible when the light hit it a certain way. I actually think some of the same factors are at play here in Kylie's case with human and drug trafficking, which can really only occur if you have a complicit and corrupt local government and law enforcement, which I believe exists in Moscow, Pullman, and Truckee. On the night of the murders, there was a hit and run on WSU's campus right next to Brian Koberger's apartment. The crash occurred at the Grove Apartments, which is just next to the Steptoe Apartments where Brian lived. At 11:30 p.m. on Saturday night, 19-year-old WSU student Carmen E. Fernandez hit two pedestrians, a male and a female, as well as a fire hydrant after driving under the influence of alcohol. She fled the scene thereafter. The driver's car was allegedly found on Greek Row at Kappa Alpha Theta House, and she was found inside. She was arrested for felony vehicular assault, hit and run, and DUI. The author of While Idaho Slept described this as a much more involved scene than I had previously thought, and definitely changes my perspective of what was going on by the apartments on the very night in question. So let me read to you how the author describes this event. Quote, At approximately 11:40 p.m., a 19-year-old Kappa Delta sorority member with a high blood alcohol level with her sister and her sister's friend in the car lost control and drove into a fire hydrant, a street light, and two pedestrians, both of them badly injured. The girl then drove away from the bloody scene. Tenants at the complex where the accident occurred could hear the screams. The victims, reportedly students at WSU, lay scattered like broken tree limbs. It was horrifying, a 26-year-old witness told reporters. The Washington State University police arrived soon after, along with deputies from the Whitman County Sheriff's Office. The hydrant collision had caused a water line to rupture and that it had to be dealt with as well. The two victims were taken to Pullman Regional Hospital in serious condition. Police began an all hands on deck manhunt for the driver. According to Brian Koberger's cell phone records, he was in his apartment when the crash occurred, the flashing police lights soon lassoing across the exterior walls of nearby buildings. There had been a large police presence while he was at home. The crime scene had to be managed and streets cordoned off, and several squad cars patrolled the area looking for the perpetrator of the hit and run. Paramedics and the fire department had also arrived. This was a big scene. The scene was active until shortly after 5:30 a.m. Did you hear that? This was an active crime scene that was still being cleaned up when Koberger returned, allegedly. First responders had blocked the most direct point of egress from Koberger's apartment unit. The remaining route to any main thoroughfare required 4 turns on residential streets with 4 speed bumps, as opposed to the single turn and a single speed bump Koberger's route usually required. There's even a quote from a Jose Mercado, a student who could see both Koberger's building and the accident scene from his apartment. He said, quote, "The police were there the whole time," end quote. So Brian would have had to exit and enter this cordoned off crime scene. I'd like to know if there's any body cam or dash cam footage that would have corroborated his phone pings coming back and leaving the apartment. I think that this actually helps his case in a couple ways. First, depending on the evidence, of course, that they bring in, kind of leads to the question of how he was able to sort of sneak in and out without being seen or picked up on any body cam. I also think that this may lend a little bit of credence to his alibi because there was this late night chaotic scene going down at his apartment. Perhaps he couldn't sleep and wanted to get away from the commotion. So he hopped in his Elantra and went for a drive. Hey, I think it's an easier sell to a jury with this commotion going on back at his apartment. What do you think? That's all I got for you today. So if you learned something from this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe. Make sure you're...
What do you guys think?
Is Rock Chalk still with us?
I am.
Rock Chalk,
I'm
you
here.
there?
Yep.
What do you think?
Are you wanting my opinion?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
waiting on you.
Oh, sorry. They were mentioning Kylie Rodney. That whole incident. That's up there by Lake Tahoe.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't followed it a whole lot, but Sippa and them, they were on that case, and supposedly that particular girl, she went to a party and she was found in the back seat of her SUV in that lake, in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah,
wild.
I've been meaning to kind of dive into that case and do a few videos on it. But what's so odd about that is, again, we fall into law enforcement not releasing details that actually make sense, comparable to an actual crime scene. Like, this young lady was happy at a party, leaves, all of a sudden it's found in her car and is said to be in the back seat of her car with the window rolled down. It sounds like to me she could have got out of the vehicle if she wanted to, but something was transpiring that kept her in that vehicle. But nobody will ever give up a real answer to that.
Right.
Just like in the Idaho 4. And I bang my head because I just want to understand. Just give me a piece of it so I can understand something, much less the entirety of the case. Just like this young lady brings up the car wreck right in front of Brian Koberger's apartment the night of the crime. You know, if I'm planning a crime, something like that brings a lot of police presence, and sadly, I've committed crimes in my life that, hey, I gotta wait. I'm not gonna do it right now. There's too much of a police presence right now. I could be seen by any of them, even if it's just leaving my home. They see me leaving, and I don't want that. I don't want that. So why would I do it intentionally, not only at my own home, but then I drive into an area that has more police presence, harassing people for underage drinking, and to think it's big game night, I'm driving around at 3:30 in the morning. Why wouldn't they pull me over to see if I'd been drinking? I mean, come on. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It don't, and that hit and run on that video, because there's video out there. I'll try to see if I can find it for you, Robert. But that video of
Okay.
that wreck, you can see that happened right in front of Brian's apartments, and you can see his Elantra still parked there at the time of that wreck. And there was some, you know how the theories go, but there were some people that said, because it was a hit and run, that possibly Brian gave her a ride because she ended up over by Linden Lane, her and two guys walking after that wreck. That's where they ended up getting her, is over there by Linden Lane. I have to pull that, because there is the correct information out there.
And that would be
Yeah,
very
'cause, I mean-
interesting information too.
Yeah, and if there was that much of a police presence by Brian's apartment, like True Crime Design said, all the way up until 5:30 in the morning, how is he going to sneak out of his freaking apartment at 2 something in the morning without being seen by body cam?
Yeah.
Right. Well, they were on the corner, and about 3 parking spaces down is where his car was. I mean, he could have still got out. I've always wondered, did he, because she needed to get out of there, did he happen to give her a ride back to Moscow? Who knows? I'm gonna dig into that, because I definitely seen the videos. I'll see if I can't find them for you, and we'll go over that again. And AR will have you come on and go over it with us. But I'll
Yeah,
see
I
if I
think
can't
that's
pull
a
all that. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
that's a lot of information that needs to be explained, and unfortunately, nothing's getting explained, and that's why I just keep saying it. You know, people are going to continue to discuss so many angles of this case because nothing's been given to start directing that, you know, discussion into where it makes more sense. So this could have been handled very early on, and instead they wanted to put it into the hands of like mainstream media and see if they could help guide it in a way that convicted this kid without people actually dissecting it and looking at it. Well, they failed poorly because it doesn't make any sense. So of course we're going to dissect it, we're going to discuss it, we're going to tear it apart, because as a cumulative whole, you could get law enforcement individuals that have a background in law enforcement. You could get law individuals that have a background in law. Then you put a couple of criminals in the mix, and they all scratch their heads and look at it and say, well, shit, it doesn't make sense on my side. And someone else says, well, it doesn't make sense over here either. Now you got every corner covered that says there's something wrong here because it doesn't make sense from any view.
Yeah.
I
So,
like the
I
I
don't-
like the fact that mainstream media, since they was putting out only what the police wanted them to put out anyway, that's where you creators come in, and has really helped out a lot. Because
Well,
and it's backed mainstream off, because they were only doing false narrative. I mean, I'll be honest with you, AR, I have not watched Ashley Banfield since she had poor Kara in the backseat of that car. I've not even turned that station on one time.
that's pretty damn disgusting, isn't it? What she did
I was
to that.
so mad.
I mean, and I know it was for a few dollars. Like, I get how the whole game works, even if the money's being deciphered and given under the table and hidden and all of that. Come on, I know why she did the interview. I know, yeah, I get it all, and it's sickening that somebody would even think that was okay to do that. I mean, just sickening to think that way, and you know, that's what mainstream media, and that's why I've been kind of directing most of my attacks at them, because they have falsely guided half of the people that are looking at this case to find this individual guilty without any true explanation of guilt. Just false claims, just 100% false claims. And if our country allows that to continue to happen in that manner, we're going to have a lot of people sitting in the penitentiary that should not be there, a lot of taxpayer money being wasted that shouldn't be. And at the end of the day, our appeals courts and the Supreme Court are going to be overworked. And
Yeah.
what's it all going to come down to at that point? I mean, then we got to start changing
Right.
everything from within the laws to the different sentencing guidelines. I still, in the back of my mind, have this gut feeling that a part of what this Idaho 4 case and the Delphi case's whole meaning and the reason why they're doing it the way it is maybe this is what's pushing for change to get the IGG system more viewed and seen as a great way to utilize that to find people that have committed crimes. But this isn't the type of thing that should be utilized to do that, because now we're talking about people's lives being on the line. And even if this kid gets found not guilty, his life is literally ruined. He can't go out of his home, neither can his family. And it's all for what? To find a change within a law or in a written rule of, whatever it might, Supreme Court that views cases. I mean, come on, we could do better than this. We could do it better than this.
Right. Hey, AR, I
Yes.
watch your channel, and like I said, listen, my heart bleeds for Kara. It really does. And I know you've been following her quite closely. And for people in the chat, I know our mods are dropping your link for your chat, but could you please, if Robert don't mind, could you tell us what I know, because I've watched your channel? And could you tell us what you know about what's going on with Kara right now, please?
What's funny is I spoke to her today on the phone. So I
Yeah,
do
but
have a little bit of,
a lot of people, yeah, a lot of
yeah,
people. I hope they go back and watch your show. But could you tell them Kara is Xana's mom, and can you tell
yep,
them about her court problems and where she's at? And I would love to hear
yeah.
what she said today, please.
Yeah, most definitely. So Kara obviously had been in some legal issues even prior to this crime happening, with her daughter's life unfortunately being taken. So she was already in a battle. She had been struggling. She had some distance between her and the family, which is unfortunate, because she does also have another daughter named Jasmine and people that really care about her. But she was on a path, and she needed to kind of work her way through that path. And unfortunately, she got drawn, as everything kind of worked out, she got placed onto probation and was given an opportunity to try to work through the issues without having to do any jail or penitentiary time or anything of that nature. So she was given a good opportunity, but she was not prepared for that. And I think a lot of the pressure, because I was even talking to her back then at that time, a lot of the pressure was mounting with doing different interviews for different reasons and things of that nature. And obviously, we all know it created a little bit of YouTube drama at the time, which was unfortunate as well. She got through that. Now, she was not in a great living situation. She didn't have a lot of actual in-person support, um, which is sad, because she had a lot of online people that cared about her and were willing to support, willing to help in so many ways, but it just didn't turn out to be the right way at the time for her. So she did end up still, unfortunately, using. She couldn't get over the addiction issues she was enduring. And a few other situations arose with some just smaller details that violated her probation and picked up a few more charges. So she was picked up on those. She was taken back to Idaho. She saw a judge a couple of weeks ago who went ahead and stood by the violations of her probation and did sentence her to a minimum of 1 year of penitentiary time. It could be more, but it's going to be a minimum. But good time can come into play with that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of counseling and a lot of things that come at the tail end of that. But they extended her probation at the end of the day with that. I've been in contact with her even prior to her going back to jail. And I wanted her to know that I stood by her no matter what the destiny of this was going to be. I was going to stand with her and just really try to be somewhat of an outlet that she could confide in and talk about certain things and yell at me, scream at me, tell me she loved me, whatever she needed to do. I wanted her to be able to express herself in the best manner that felt for her. So I've also pushed, and people to watch my show, I want people to support her by writing her and letting her know people care. Be careful financially, but always, always put it out there that you care and you support, you understand. Today, she made it to an actual yard, and I will be releasing the information soon via community post of where you're able to write to her and where you're going to actually be able to get in contact with her. She is very lucky. She landed on a yard that actually has counseling and addiction programs. So she, for the very first time to me, expressed the excitement that she might really pursue trying to get the help while she's there. And if she does do that, I mean, obviously I didn't tell her, but it's going to help her get good time, get some time knocked off of her sentence, and she'll be able to come home sooner. So uh, I hope everybody stays driven enough to keep praying for her, showing her love. She wants to do better. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. I mean, the addiction, the loss of the daughter, she's in a lot of pain. She really, really is. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a good thing for her. So I hate saying prison's a good thing for somebody, but at the end of the day, I think this is going to be really good for her. Hopefully that answers a few questions.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
answered a
it
lot.
does.
I can't see the chat right now, but I mean, when I watched your video, I mean, I really loved your video,
Well,
and
I
I'm the same
appreciate
way
that.
about Kara. I mean, I'm a mom. I got kids, and being estranged for one thing, that'd be hard. Then her daughter getting murdered, and then happen to be where she's at.
Yeah.
Hopefully, she does get clean. I was always curious as to why they didn't put her in some kind of drug court, but I volunteer for drug court here, and that's a really hard program. I'll just tell you, it's the last place before prison, and a lot of people don't make it through the drug court.
Yeah, and in discussing it with her, and I obviously reached out to a few people in Idaho just because I myself haven't been through the addiction phase or being charged with, those types of crimes. So I wanted to reach out because I wanted to push in the best way I could to get her the help she needed, and I was really driven to talk to people in the counseling sector. And I do know of the different programs like what you're speaking about where they can help people rather than sentencing them to a penitentiary. They can send them with very strict ruled programs that try to help them avoid that. And I guess just at the end of this day, when this case for Kara was looked at, they felt as though the better route to take was to remove her completely from the support system she was engaged with in the local area, and
Right.
in hopes moved her to a system yard that's far from there, and maybe even make it to where those individuals are too afraid to visit or allow for the interaction because they're afraid the cops might land on them as well, which is a good theory. Like I understood it when they explained to me. I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. You gotta, if you distance a criminal from another criminal, one criminal may just cut everything off because they don't want to get caught like the other one did. So they're going to kind of cut that off. So, I mean, I understand it. I'm always sad to hear of somebody having to get a DOC number and then you go to the penitentiary because that follows you for the rest of your life. It's not something you're ever getting rid of. But I think in this setting, I think she's going to have an opportunity at the end of the day for a diversion program, meaning that when she gets out, if she could fulfill many steps that are required of her, they may actually lower the felony conviction down to a misdemeanor and allow that to be a sealed record. Her DOC number could be sealed. But we'll all just kind of see how it works out at the end of the day with the actions and what she chooses to do.
Do they do that? Because I
Yeah,
don't believe they do that here. I've never heard of that, where they would lower it from
it's
a felony to a misdemeanor. Once you're charged, you're charged. But
yeah,
here, but one thing I had heard, like the more classes she takes, you are correct. They'll give her
yeah,
more good time.
yeah.
Because
You
in
can
all
knock off.
actuality, I know you was in for a long time, and back
Mhm.
then they just kind of threw you in and let you go. I think they're starting to realize that while you're in prison, if you've got a drug problem, you need this help because what's going to happen when you get out? You're going to go right back to the drugs. And
You're right.
I'm a firm believer that nobody chooses to be an addict. Okay, I really don't believe they choose to believe that be that. I think it happens with the brain, and there's certain things that it's a mental issue too. And I believe now, like in the drug courts, they go over all that. Hopefully they do that in the prison system too. Do you know if they do that there?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few people, even on some of the higher yards I was on. It was specified they had to go to daily different types of addiction classes and counseling. And I've seen people literally overcome it while in the penitentiary and change their lives. But I've also seen people that just go, I guess they utilize it to get a little bit of good time, and then they're just still doing their own thing. But the one thing in the penitentiary that's a benefit to those programs is they can daily drug test you, and they don't need permission to do it. They can force you to do it. And I think that's important. I think that's very, very important for someone that does want to quit, that you put a lot of those strict guidelines on them. And she's going to be in her own cell, which is also very rare because she's not on a very high custody yard. She's on a lower custody yard that
Like a
typically
medium
could,
security, maybe?
yeah, she's actually on a high minimum. So it's literally like a medium, but it's still considered minimum where she can get a job. They have an open yard concept. She still goes to chow hall. So she has the ability to engage other people and try to better herself and go to counseling and do things outside just sitting in a cell all day, which is good.
But
That's very,
she
very
can
good.
work on the prison, is what you're saying. She can get a job
Yeah.
within the
Yep.
prison. Like, I want to make sure
Yep.
that some people know it's not like she can go get a job at Burger King. Like, it's a
No,
job
no.
within the prison, maybe doing laundry where she gets paid just a few
Right.
cents a day, type of thing.
Yeah, she's definitely going to be an inmate that will never be able to be what's on called work release, where they can come out for a couple hours a day and go work on the highways or anything of that nature. Because of her violations of probation and the fact that she moved around quite a bit, she's going to be very closed within that unit. The only time she can leave is shackled and cuffed with officers taking her to a medical, facility or something of that nature. She'll never leave the actual prison unit for any other reason other than going to get a medical treatment or get her teeth fixed or something like that. So she will always be, and she'll start with a very low paying and low engaged job, like working in the kitchen or doing laundry or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Robert, I'm sorry. We're not trying to take over your panel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, no, no. I have a question though. I see
Yeah.
Lori Markle. I'm not picking on you, hon, but you said you need at least 2 years in prison to stop using drugs. I have to highly disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't find
Um,
that to be true.
I,
What do you think? I
I,
think you
I,
got to want to quit, but I don't think that there's any
yeah,
set limit time like two
you know,
years. I don't believe that.
yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I get what she's saying because it takes a time period because you can quit today but not officially be done.
Right.
You've got to make that commitment, kind of like when I decided I didn't want to smoke cigarettes anymore. I looked at my wife. I said, "Well, I'm done smoking." She looked at me, laughing, said, "Yeah, okay, for the day." I said, "No, I'm done smoking. I don't want to smoke anymore. Like, I'm tired of this." And she, at first, didn't believe me. And then she realized through time, I just kept working through it. And I didn't go back and grab another cigarette to smoke. I just cold turkey quit because I knew if I went back and I grabbed another cigarette, I was going to start again. So I believe that people within a setting in the penitentiary truly have to make up their mind. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to sway from this path because it's very easy to sway from the path. It doesn't
yeah.
matter if you're a drug addict. It doesn't matter if you're addicted to alcohol because hooch is available. Hell, for me, I was kind of one of the guys that liked to fight. So anytime I got let out of my cell, I was going to go get some fighting in. And so I had to learn how to walk my own path and avoid all the other stuff to straighten myself out. And hopefully Kara could do that. I don't think we could put a time frame of how long it would take. I think that as long as every day she wakes up with the same missionary thought process that she wants to be done, and then she works on that every single day, I think she could possibly do it very quickly. Um, but she has to stick to it, and she has to really, really want that. So,
Do you happen to know what her underlying sentence is? Is she gonna have to, or even her max sentence is? Is she gonna have to
uh,
spend all that, or do you even know?
yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit of the breakdown, just not only communicating with her because look, she's still in that situation where it's hard to be 100% truthful about everything you say, so you kind of have to go back and verify a few things. I mean, it's like I believe you, but I got to go verify this real quick.
Well,
So
that's why
I
I'm
have
glad you are asking her. Like that's really important to me. That's why I'm asking you these questions.
right, and I want people to understand. I know I came across way back when the drama started between me and two other content creators. When I came out, I said, "Look, we can't be giving her money." I I know I was
I was
very,
with you on that. I did not agree with the money part.
yeah, I was very strong in my feelings because I knew where she was right at that moment because I was talking to her. So I knew right where she was at, and I knew other people were being guided by hearing the words, but not fully opening to the fact that they may not be 100% true. So you kind of have to have the experience like you do and like many other people do, where you hear it, but you don't fully accept it because you know there's parts of it that are not true. So you kind of have to stay strict to what you do. And I know at first that came across wrong, but I was okay to do that because I knew I was going to continue to support her and follow her situation. I just wasn't going to fall into the trap of let's donate a lot of money, let's do a lot of this or that.
I
I
don't
wanted to
think
help her.
you, yeah, I don't think you fell into
Yeah.
a trap. I think you were like me. Let's get her money. Let's get her a stable place to live. Like,
Yeah,
I wasn't for handing over cash, but I was
right.
absolutely for let's get her a place to live and let's help her try to do the right things.
And
You give
that's
an addict, active addict cash, what are they going to do, AR?
that's right.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
it's not even just addicts. I mean, it could be somebody that, even in a lifestyle like mine, you give me a little bit of leeway, I'm going to take advantage of that leeway and use it to my benefit until I learned how to appreciate what's being given to me as help. Then I can better manage it. But that was my whole point back then. I said, look, I'll give her financial means to be able to have a place to live, food to eat, but I won't give it directly to her. Let me pay somebody where she's living the rent. Let me get a gift card that's only a Walmart gift card. And all you can do is buy food at Walmart with that gift card. There's what's that?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways that we could
Uh,
do that. And she wasn't willing to accept that at that time. And that kind of gave me a sign like, I know where you're at right now. I know what's happening. So
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I offered to buy food, and that was not an option either at the time. Robert,
yeah,
I'm sorry, it's your show. Did you have something to say, hon?
Uh, did Kara and Jeff get divorced?
A long
Or at
time
least
ago.
yeah, they've been divorced for quite a while.
Was it
You know,
because of the
and
drug divorced or
yeah, there's a lot that and the fragments of that take time in a discussion between Kara and I to build the trust to be able to talk about family life and home life and all of that. But I'm also going to make the clear statement. One of the reasons why she does support and trust me in telling me these things, because I'm not going to share it with all of you.
Yeah, and I
You know,
appreciate that. My other question
yeah,
is, AR, so you're gonna keep posted on your page, and I do see that our mods has shared that. So you're
yep.
gonna, what do you think about people writing her and just giving her um props? What would you suggest if people wanted to write her? Should they, shouldn't they? And if they do,
A-
what would you suggest they talk about? Obviously not
abs-
Xana, not Xana.
no,
Obviously not Xana.
I think it is important that people are willing to open their hearts and write messages of hope, write her a prayer, write her a self hope type poem that you read somewhere. Talk about yourself in the fact that you understand in certain ways of things you've had to go through. Just very much avoid the discussion of Xana and Jasmine, the second daughter, because that's very painful as well. And she's working on that. Maybe at times she'll open up to you about that. Um, but at the time, be positive and no matter what you write. But I am going to make a very clear statement. Do not put a money order in with your letter to her at this time. I will have information on how you can, if you would like to buy her a book to read or various things of that nature that could not be in exchange for a way to enable an addict to get things that they want to get. I'm going to be very protective, and I've already told her this that I am going to push for people to support her, but I'm not going to allow people to support her addiction. So I will be
I
the
agree.
first
And there's a
person.
lot of drugs in the prison. You know that as
Yeah,
well as I do. And
there's more
and if
in
they
the
have a lot of
penitentiary.
money, yeah, if they have a lot of money on their books, what they do is they'll buy things for people for the drugs. Some people, like my ex has told me, there's so much drugs in the prison system themselves that
oh
she
yeah.
might use that money from the commissary, say to buy a headset, a radio headset, to trade that for drugs. Is that still go
Oh
on
yeah.
there? I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
curious.
It's rampant. It's rampant. Probably upwards on a, let's just take a small yard with 1,000 to 1,500 inmates. I would say $35 to $40,000 a week is passed around within the narcotics trade alone. And that's just what's being paid at that time. That's not what's actually owed overall. So people get themselves in debt, they get themselves into jams, and I'm doing all I can to put my foot down with Kara because she needs She needs the positivity and someone that's been there like me that understands the game. Like I get it. I know all about it. I've been right in the middle of it for so long that I'm going to make sure that she just can't get her hands on things. I'll write other inmates and put a block to things that she wants to do. So,
Right.
um,
I
you know,
appreciate that. And Robert, what do you think about telling your subscribers here? I know we're dropping AR's link. If you're wanting to write Kara and you're wanting to do things, maybe please hit AR up before you do that and let him be the pinpoint since you are close to Kara. There's so many that says they've talked to Kara. There's still some that saying they're talking to her on Facebook, and you and I both know they're not talking to her on Messenger right now because that's
Well,
not
see,
right,
available,
right.
see,
and it
Bianca said that she's like wrote her a couple of times on Facebook, hoping that she would eventually message her back.
but she's not on Facebook no more. And I've seen
Yeah,
people say that they've gotten messages from her. She don't have an option to Facebook, does she, AR?
no,
At this
not
time.
at this time. She could earn that down the road if she earns, first of all, tablet privileges outside of the very basics. You can earn that through good time as you drop in custody level. But I'm not thinking that with her charges and her background, I don't think that's ever going to become a possibility because of what people can utilize that open forum to be able to talk to anybody out there. You can set up deals, you can set up all kinds of stuff. So I really don't see that becoming available to her.
Can I ask you one more question, AR? Do
Hmm.
you know when she went into custody?
Was it
Boy, that's a
before
good
the
question.
Idaho? Was it before the murders or was it after the murders?
She got
Both.
arrested
Both.
originally. She got arrested originally prior to the Idaho 4. She was detained. She was released, re-detained again prior to it, and released. Then it wasn't long after it happened. I believe she was detained again for something very small and released. And then, unfortunately, as you guys saw, she started hitting the social media platform. She started hit the YouTube platform. She went on mainstream media, uh, and she was on the run the entire time that was happening. And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I talked to people in very private behind all of that. And I said, guys, you guys are all claiming that she doesn't have issues right now. And I'm trying to tell you guys, stop saying that because she does. And by you saying she doesn't, you're kind of enabling her to kind of continue to play the game. So we need to slow down the playing of the game. So,
We
um,
believe you, Bianca. Bianca said
eh,
last message I sent was on 11/18/23, 11:30
Yeah.
a.m.
oh,
That's what
yeah,
I
no,
was
she
asking
was,
AR. Could you tell us
yeah,
when she just recently got back
yeah.
arrested
So,
and is being sentenced, please? Thank you.
yeah, so it's been about a month. I would say it was the second week of January. I think second week of January, she got picked up, detained. She was housed in a Washington jail for a couple of days and then moved back to Idaho. And what's it been? Probably 2 weeks now that she was sentenced to the penitentiary. And she just literally got moved to the penitentiary. So,
You guys, mind,
uh,
you guys mind if Sophie comes up? Sophie's in the
no,
I
chat.
don't
bring her
have a
on up.
problem with that.
This is we're here for you. Yeah, we're definitely for you. So
Well,
Hey, Sophie, hit
definitely
the on.
AR.
Come on up.
I still want to ask you a few more things. So I know you're covering that on your channel, and I think that's awesome. But if you could please come back to Robert too when you do have updates, so that we can send them back to you there again.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
it's all of us supporting each other, and I love the fact that you're the only one that she's really willing to deal with right now that she trusts, and I find that to be awesome, very
Hey,
awesome.
Sophie.
I kind of think I'm sorry. Go ahead, introduce Sophia, and then I'll kind of respond to you there, Chuck.
Hey, Sophie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? My, am I echoey again? My headphone just quit right when you answered.
No, you're not echoey. She's not echoey, is she, guys?
No, it sounds fine to me.
Okay, cool. I popped in. I just read the chat. We're talking about Kara.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sad.
Yeah, and
It is a
AR's
sad.
telling us AR has a direct connection to Kara. She trusts AR, and AR's given her really good advice. So I knew a lot of people in the chat, and maybe even Robert, did not know that AR had all this information. And AR, I really appreciate you sharing that into the chat.
Oh, yeah, so
Make
do
sure
I,
you're
AR.
following. Make sure you're following AR because he's definitely going to keep everybody updated on Kara. And like I said, I hope you do come back here and keep us updated too, even though we're going to follow your channel.
I
Anyway,
think
go
I
on,
think
please,
it's
AR.
I think it's important that when I put up a community post with information in regards to care and all of that, that I go ahead and copy that, and send it over to you guys so you guys can do a community post as well about it. I think that it's great for many people from many different places to be able to see it with the creators that they're kind of tied to. It doesn't all have to funnel to me. I'm not looking for like the props or anything of that nature. I just want her to have the support that she needs, what she deserves. And any way we can get that for her is the best way. So I'm more than happy to share all that info with you guys. Just understand I won't get into a lot of the very personal details that she talks about because she confides in me. And I call her a friend at this point. I hope that as her and I continue to move forward with this, at the end of the day, she's going to call me a friend, even though I'm kind of strict and I'm very knowledgeable about what she's going through. So when she tries to tell me something, I kind of already can smell it out before whether it's true or not. So that's something that I've told her I was going to be for her, and hopefully that helps. Something that will help walk her through that.
Well, the other thing is like I said, she trusts you. You've been there, done that. You know how the system works. You know what goes on, and then you can also let people know when it's okay to share, share money with her or put money on her books. Now, it used to be also, and I don't know if this is true, you couldn't just send a book to somebody, but like you could order a magazine subscription for somebody as long as it came from that company. Has that changed too? Because I don't know. I've never been in. I just have bought stuff for people like that. And I was curious if that still works that way or how that works.
Yeah, like you and I can't just go box up a book and send it to her, but they have different places that you can order from. I always say Amazon is the best. It's the cheapest, it's the quickest, and it's the most accepted across the board by the majority of penitentiaries and jails. So it's really the easiest. But you could do it, through local bookstores that are they have to ship directly from the actual
From
store
the
and all of
company.
that,
Right, right.
right?
Okay,
So
so I was,
you can't personally send anything from your own self to her. Everything that is able to be gotten by her would have to be ordered. So
I appreciate you saying that because in the streets, the YouTube streets, people were trying to say, you know how they turn things around, that you had said that they could go buy books and send to her. And I said, I'm sorry, I need to talk to AR about that because it didn't used to be that way and they could have changed it, but it can't come directly from you. Like I used to order magazines for people in jail and it had to come straight from the magazine company. I couldn't send like a crossword puzzle to her or anything like that, only letters. And it's still
yeah.
that way, correct?
Yeah, and it's even getting more strict. Like now, you can't send a envelope with a normal stamp on it. It's got to be a pre-stamped envelope because people are able to take the stamps off and do things with them. And I think that they've shut down the ordering of magazines and maybe even newspapers now. Um,
Makes sense.
they're really getting very strict upon like they people used to be able to order you CDs and different things, and a lot of things are changing now because they're going more to the tablet use, so you can have your music on your tablet that you just pay for what songs you want or whatever that might
Right.
be. But
So
yeah,
on your community page, could you put uh on your community page could you put what she's allowed to have and how to, because I don't know
yeah,
how to do that, and you've
I'm
worked
I'm
hard
gonna
at this.
actually, yeah, I'm gonna put the direct links that someone can click right on it, and it will take you to the accepted items and where they can be ordered from. And
Oh,
then
that's
I'll
cool.
also put my information on there as well. If anybody needs more info in regards to that prior to doing it, they're more than welcome to ask me, and I'll give them, what I know or direct them to who they could contact. Because some people want to actually physically talk to somebody to get that info, and I don't blame them. My parents, if I called and said, "Hey, you could send me this," they were like, "Okay, we'll call the warden. We'll find out." It's like, we'll find out. And I get that. I understand that. So,
Well, I
all,
appreciate your knowledge, and I appreciate the fact that you are helping her. She is one that, like I said, I just couldn't be imagine being estranged from my child. Well, two
right.
children, and then one of them getting murdered in the way that they did, and out of all of them, now I know one creator that has called her names and did a lot of things, and you might not have called it AR. And I'll tell you another day. I can show you the screen clips of it. I don't believe in bashing anybody. I've said before that good people make bad mistakes. I've said that for a long time. And Kara just got in a rut. But just imagine being estranged from your child and being into drugs, and then she gets murdered and you get clean. There's never going to be that. She's always going to have guilt, and she needs positive things around her. And it sounds like you're very positive for her. And kudos to you.
Well, and I appreciate it. That's, one thing that I hope a lot of people realize. When I started my channel, my my thought process was not always let's talk Idaho 4 or let's talk true crime. It was more so I wanted to gravitate into people helping people understand the issue that convicts and criminals go through, and how can we better help them without enabling them to reoffend or do it again. And so now I find, like, when I find someone like Kara, and I got to know her very early in this situation, um, just by discussing with her. And I just told her, I just said, look, I'm not going to judge you. I already get it. Like, I understand. I've been there. And when I explained my story to her, she had to take a deep breath and say, well, he can't judge me. He's worse than me.
Right, but you've changed your life around, and she can too. The
Right.
difference is you didn't lose a child over this, but
That's right.
you're a caring person, and I think you can help her through that. Now,
And
Robert,
that,
go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. Hold on. I got a question for you in a minute. Go ahead, AR. I'm sorry.
well, and that's why, I want to tell people is not all of us have experienced the same experiences. But I guarantee you, if you really sit down and think about it, we've all endured things that have been painful. We've all endured something that we were addicted to, whether it be God or drugs. It's still an addiction, no matter which way you decide to go in life. And we've all made bad choices, great choices, sad choices, lost people we love. So if we come together as a community whole to be supportive, and instead of bashing each other, we say, hey, I get it. I fully understand. Let's talk. Let's open up. Maybe I can help you feel better today, and you'll make me feel better a week from now when I'm down. Then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
actually can move forward,
And
and
that's one good thing about you, AR, is that you're taking your experiences and you're helping others, and that's awesome. That's just really awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome
and,
of you.
and
Agreed.
that's the only thing I feel that I bring that I can really dive into, be fully honest about, that could make a difference. Like, I could go be a great BSer and I could be whatever. I could do all of that. But to be an honest person, a loving husband, and something that could actually tweak someone's day, That's the angle that I can come in with, and I'll do it for anybody and everybody that just wants a better day for themselves and their families. If you
Well, Kara's
care,
always been close to my heart. I've always felt out of her, she was the one because she was on the run. I felt like well, none of the families really have been told much from the police, but I always felt like they've even shut her out more. And I found it to be very sad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
yeah, I
Um,
mean,
I agree
Robert,
too. Yeah.
I have a question because AR's here and I think I've got the answer. And if I'm wrong, I want him to correct me. So
Okay.
Adam had a question, and me and you had talked about it last night. That Annalise video was 11 months old, okay?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
on that, she said that Ann Taylor had the power of attorney over Kara. The way I understand it is Ann Taylor is over all the public defenders, and Kara had public defenders, but she never once had Ann Taylor per se Ann Taylor as her attorney. Somebody in Ann Taylor's office was her attorney, but it was never Ann Taylor. And I think that got debunked. They went to court, and everybody agreed that Ann could still represent Brian because she didn't necessarily just she didn't personally represent Kara. Am I correct on that, AR?
you're absolutely correct. And her and I have had that discussion as well so that she could better understand it, because when that was all coming out and being stated, she was very confused, and mainstream media began its own little pushing in a certain direction because she did not fully understand. She never signed over any type of document stating that Ann Taylor had the right of power of attorney or any of that. Uh, it was never her attorney. She had a public defender from that office, that every document that came out of that office had Ann Taylor's name at the top because she was the lead of that office. They had never even spoken before. They didn't know who each other were. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it. Mainstream media took a very emotional and not understanding individual and guided them to say things that they wanted her to say.
I agree. Well, that was the
I
question in
agree
the
too.
comments. And that was, Robert, that was something me and you went over last night, remember?
Yeah.
And I just wanted all these people out here listening to know that no, Ann Taylor did not have power of attorney specifically over Kara. She was never specifically Kara's personal attorney. And AR, you're saying that that's correct. I'm right on that, right?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely,
perfect. Thank you.
100%.
Thank you. Because I don't want any misinformation out there.
Where's Sippa tonight, Rock Chalk?
Well, I was supposed to call him, and I tried to call him, and I'm going to try to call him again. Actually, I asked, I'm trying to get Jamie or Sweet Surrender to hit him up. You know, he
Jamie
works
says
third shift.
Jamie says I'm trying to stay awake.
Well, I can jump down for a minute so Sophie and AR can talk, and let me go find Sippa. AR, are
Okay.
you going to be around for a minute?
Yeah, I should be. I hope so.
Okay, I'll be right back. But your information about Kara, thank you. And
You're welcome.
I am one that I care deeply for Kara. And if there's something that you feel like I can do to help Kara, you've got my email because I've emailed you.
Yep, I
Please
do.
let me know, and I'm gonna pay attention to your community, your community page, and I really want to stay on top of it. And please do come back to Roberts and keep us informed there too. But hopefully people do go follow you too, because you got good content,
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
and
just when
Kara is
you're ready,
very
Rock.
important.
When you're ready, Rock Chalk, just let me know and I'll put another link in the chat.
Okay, thanks, love. I'll be back, guys. Let me go find
All
Sippa.
right.
I'll be back.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I missed your AR. I only saw your video about telling people to maybe not send money at some point, but I didn't see whatever video you made before that for her.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm done three total in regards to it. Started back at the beginning when the drama came from her doing her first live or something, and then just kind of moving through with just trying to bring a perspective. We all love her. We want the best for her. So I mean,
Of course.
it's like but I've always told her when I've talked to her, both through writing and actually on the phone, I said, I'm going to be strict with you because I want the better for you. And I know the games of BSing. And if I feel like you're BSing me, I'm going to call you out on it.
Yeah.
And hopefully she would do the same thing for me to keep me in line too. That's what friends do. So
Yeah.
it sounds like so far, even though times are a little tough and she's not in the place she wants to be, I think we'll be okay. I think she's going to come out of this in a better position, a better situation. So
You know,
Is she?
I saw
Sorry, go
Jeff
ahead, David.
I saw Jeff H in the chat earlier, but I don't see him anymore.
Is he
yeah,
lurking?
I don't know. I mean, I saw him very early, and maybe he's bouncing through some other lives. I know some other people are probably doing stuff tonight too. It's Friday night. We all got a party on YouTube.
I want to know if she got moved down here. Did she get moved down to the penitentiary in Nampa? Or do you know?
I think so. That's the minimum medium yard that has actually the counseling and some of the drug um, programs, right? I believe that's correct.
I hope so. I don't know
Yeah,
about that. I just know that we have like the max out here,
yeah. No,
and then right next to it there's another prison, and it's probably that one.
let me take a look real quick. I
Hey,
had it in the back of
Rock
my
Chalk.
head, and I'm going to see if I can find it.
Hey, Rock Chalk.
He didn't answer, but he worked last night, so I left him a message, Robert.
Yeah, I don't blame him. If he's tired, he's tired. Yeah, he's still all you guys on my panel are awesome. My mods are awesome. Rock Chalk, you're the managing mod. You're awesome.
You know, and I did want to let you know. I know I'm not on as much as I used to be. I'm working my way back into trying to come back full time. I'm sure some people know I had some issues health wise. I got just really sick. I'm gonna have a stint put in and just kind of move forward and get back to doing this full time. But I fully support all of you, even from a distance. So if there's anything I could ever do for anybody, please let me know. If I can help out in any way, let me know because I do have a lot of free time. So if I can help you find something or get info or research something, let me know. Put me to work. I'll help you out as much as I can. And if I can't, I'll just tell you I can't. But hopefully, I can support all of you. So.
Hey, I'm gonna need you to keep taking your dogs to the Bellagio so I can see the flower.
Yeah, you know what's funny is we're doing the Venetian on Monday. We're going to do a big tour of the Venetian. Have you ever seen the Venetian?
I have seen the Venetian. I've walked through the, I don't know, river, creek, little waterway.
Yeah. So we're going to do that with the. We're going to actually put one of them on the boat.
Oh,
on
yes.
the water while they so they're going to be singing to us while the boat, and I'm sure we'll probably get booted. We'll get thrown off, but it'll be fun.
Oh my God, no, that sounds awesome. I've definitely never seen a dog on a boat in there. I've been there several different Halloweens and stuff, so I've seen some interesting things in the little Venetian Mall thing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to the Sphere yet, though.
AR,
I'll
how
tell you
long
what,
have you
that's
been in Vegas?
so 2 years I believe it is now. My wife, when we first came out here, was going back and forth working back east and here at the same time, so it was a lot of traveling. But I think now we've been pretty solid here for over a year now, almost two. But
Now you
you know,
have your animals registered as ADA pets, right?
yeah, they
I was gonna
all
say
are.
that's the way to go. That's
Yep.
the way to go. And somebody made a comment one time and said, "How does he travel with his dogs?" Well, for one, they're probably ADA approved, and
Mhm.
they are your working dogs, and they look like they're
Correct.
they're your companions, but they're working dogs, and people
Yep.
might not understand that. But
Yeah,
the reason,
they're all
go ahead.
fully trained, and they're all licensed and insured. And so when
But I
people
was talking
say,
about the American Disabilities Act. With the
yeah,
American Disabilities Act, they are your companion dogs. And so
well,
with that, they can go anywhere with you. My dogs can even go on cruises everywhere.
yeah,
They can go everywhere
yeah.
with me.
Bayou is a full trained service dog for my diabetes. He will tell you when my sugar is low. He'll tell you when it's high. He'll tell you when I smell like fruit. He alerts people to my diabetic issues. So he's very good at that. And Xander is actually now being trained for the exact same thing. So Xander will replace Bayou in the duties. And then Aspen, I haven't figured out what she does for my disability other than give me heart attacks on a constant basis. But she's the biggest loving. I guess if you could have a dog for the loving side of the disability, she's the perfect one. So
You kind of
Yeah.
can, because like they can just applying pressure is like one of the things they can be listed on there. Like
right.
the dog leans up against you when you feel when she could tell you're nervous.
Well,
When
one
when I
thing
was in the
too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
when I cut you off, but when I was part of my job as an investigator, I also worked very closely with this guy Ron King for Kansas for ADA, and that was one of the big things was having working dogs. But with the ADA Act, I appreciate you telling me what your dogs do. But with the ADA Act, the way it's written now, by law, they can't even ask you what your dogs do for you.
Yeah, they're
Right.
not allowed. They can't
That's
ask what their
it's against the
service
law.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
against the
can't
law.
ask you what your disability is. They can't ask you
Right.
what your dog does. And rarely can they even ask you to show you the dog's identification as being a service dog. They have to be very careful in the way that they do their
Otherwise, you can
asking.
sue them. Yeah, it's a
Yep,
federal law. They give out cards when you registered your dogs. They
yep,
gave you a card, and it tells you all you gotta do is show them that card, telling them they don't have to.
yep,
They do not by law have the right to even ask that. I
yep.
find that
We have the
interesting.
cards. We have the cards that we can carry in our wallets with their pictures and everything about it. Then we also have the cards that if you wanted to, you could put it on their collar, and it shows it there as well. But we feel as though, it's like it's none of your business, to be honest with you, unless there's a major issue. If my dog creates an issue, then we can get into that discussion. But, you know,
Yeah,
Hey,
my
tell me if
dogs don't.
I was gonna,
Rachel
because
Rachel O'Brien just posted something in chat. Tell me if this has been debunked or not. It's on the screen.
the judge issued the arrest warrant before the affidavit was even filled in the court.
Filed in the
Are we
court.
talking about? Are we talking about Brian Koberger?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they had been applying for that arrest warrant for quite a while. I mean it had been, I believe. I mean, I guess there's so much stuff that goes around. You just never
But
know.
wait a minute, AR. So maybe things has changed since I retired, but you have an affidavit that you have to give to the judge to get an arrest warrant. So
Right.
I'm I'm confused on that question.
What I believe that you may be saying is the very current PCA affidavit that's out right
Right? Yeah,
now.
same thing. Yeah.
But I believe there was a much smaller affidavit. Like you said, there always has to be something in writing that goes into the court for them to issue an arrest warrant for somebody, especially when they're halfway across the world from you in another state. So, in every affidavit, when they were coming at me when I was farther away, it would be a very short, very to the point. We have this evidence that we're basing everything on. We need to go get him. And then the court could say, nope, that's not enough. you got to come back to me with something more substantial or this or that. And I believe, from what I've heard, and obviously I wasn't there, none of us were in the courtrooms. We don't know what got handed to the judge for her to sign to finally dictate the arrest. But I had heard there were a couple of denials in the very beginning that said it's not enough. So, it's very questionable about, I don't know, just everything about the case makes me sick. It's all questionable. And if it was me that got arrested in these circumstances, I would be so upset, so shattered by it all. I mean, he's doing well to hold it all together. So,
Yeah, because I was watching something last night, and it stated that the PCA was to remain sealed until Brian Koberger was arrested and then extradited back to Idaho. How can you seal a PCA until he gets arrested and gets extradited back to Idaho? Because they stated that once he was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, he didn't fight extradition. According to his public defender, he stated that he couldn't wait to get exonerated. But so he didn't fight extradition, and the judge there in Moscow sealed the PCA until he was in a Moscow courtroom. Is she allowed to seal the PCA before he even gets to Moscow?
you know what? I think a lot of things are really going oddly in this case. And I know Rockchalk, you're really knowledgeable and do a lot of research into that. Probably, maybe even have better answers to that than I do. I can only come at it from an experienced point of view, and I've done some videos way back in the past that they didn't. I guess they came out before I kind of had subscribers, and I talked about extradition. I talked about being tracked down for major crimes and stuff of that nature, and how my experiences are so far different than what happened in this Idaho 4. It's amazing to me the difference. And it that's what shakes me about this case, because when you have experience in it, you can kind of formulate thoughts based off of, okay, well, that makes a little bit of sense because when it happened to me, it was like this, and this isn't far from that. So I could see how it would happen. But when it's so directly opposite worlds, and I've been extradited from the East Coast to the West Coast. I've been extradited from a big city to a little city. Been extradited from a little city to a big city. So it's like I've been through it. I've experienced this. And no explanation that anybody has spoken about in regards to the Idaho 4 has ever satisfied a thought or a feeling that I've had, like, that made sense. It just doesn't. Maybe you ladies have something that you could add to it that will help me make sense of it, but it doesn't.
None of it makes sense. Nothing. It continues to make less sense every day.
What
And
I
that's
would
what
say is, if you look at the PCA from Pennsylvania, it's got a lot more stuff in it because they had to have that to arrest him in Pennsylvania.
right.
And I don't believe that was sealed when they actually served it to him. Because if you think about it, it came out pretty quick when Brian came back. As far as the Pennsylvania one, it seemed like it came out real quick.
I do agree. I mean, I thought it was really almost out the day after he landed. Like, I thought
Right,
the minute he got back, that came out. So I know it's before he made his initial arraignment appearance. It was out.
right. Because they also put what they got from the places that he like his apartment, his parents' house. So, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm under the understanding that PCA for Pennsylvania, I'm not so sure that was sealed. If it was, it wasn't very long.
I thought it was redacted. I didn't think it was actually sealed. I
Right.
thought there was some
Redacted. Right.
redaction to it,
Yeah,
but
you're correct.
that
Yeah, I
it
was talking
still
about the one
doesn't.
from Moscow. Yeah, I understand the one from Pennsylvania wasn't sealed or redacted. But I was talking about the one from Moscow because they were claiming, uh, Moscow was claiming that they were sealing theirs until he got back to Idaho. Now, Pennsylvania could have received a copy of the PCA there in Pennsylvania, but according to the judge there in Idaho, they were sealing theirs until he was in their state.
And maybe
Well,
they had an agreement.
that PCA went with when because I'm sorry. So AR, you know as well as I do, he could have fought extradition. He
Oh,
didn't. He
absolutely.
wanted to be exonerated. So when Brian left Pennsylvania, that PCA went with him to Idaho because he didn't
Yeah.
fight extradition. That's how I see it work. That
Yeah.
I know I
So,
haven't. I've been retired a while. You might know more, AR, about that.
well, the PCA came out prior to his arrest, so obviously Pennsylvania had that PCA within their courtroom probably a couple of days prior to the arrest. They determined that they were going to go and allow it to happen, knowing that they were not the actual jurisdiction that was going to house him long term or take him to trial. They were just fulfilling Moscow's PCA and, arrest warrant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the minute that Brian Koberger waives his right to extradition, he is automatically Idaho property right then and there. Pennsylvania no longer even has a say other than to take him to the shower or serve him his tray of food at the jail. Now it's all Idaho at that point. So everything comes back with Koberger, including that PCA. Everything's back. So personally, I don't believe in my gut feeling that it was sealed automatically or immediately. Redacted, yes. I know there was probably a lot of names and things taken out of that, but sealed, I don't believe happened until literally probably the arraignment time. It probably happened the morning of the arraignment, in my opinion, because that would be the first time that everybody would be in the courtroom battling Brian Koberger's case and information. So I don't know. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I just wonder if they know what they're doing at all. Like, have they never tried anything like this? Is it possible that they just really have zero idea what they're doing, or are they bumbling it on purpose?
Now,
They're
see,
not bumbling it on purpose.
what I've heard is what happened that night is the first major quad homicide to happen in Idaho in at least a decade.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's any experience capable of not only investigating this crime, but then handling it to where the large scale spectrum that it's going to be on and then prosecuting it. I think they all fall short because even when I look at Bill Thompson, and people have come at me and said he has an impeccable record, and I'm not going to say the man's a phony or whatever, but I've
Yeah.
seen how many actual cases he pleads out rather than pursuing a death penalty like they should have been. And that, I think that comes from obviously the financial capability that Idaho most likely has. But I think they also have a really screwed up way of handling cases outside of that.
Oh yeah.
So it's scary across the board to watch. And at the end of the day, I kind of sit back and I think about it. And I say, Bill Thompson, when you sit in your living room at night at the end of the day after a court hearing, do you literally take a deep breath and say, God, I'm glad I didn't shit myself in the courtroom because I was so nervous that something I said or did was going to come to light as being wrong? because I know it's wrong. I just hope to God I can keep pushing it through and it doesn't get called out on me, because I mean, I don't know. Some of even the comments the prosecutors make in the courtroom stir me up, because I've sat in that defendant's chair and I've been around some amazing attorneys on both sides, prosecutors as well, and investigators that were really good at what they did. And
Yeah.
it's like, if I were sitting in the Idaho 4 courtroom right now, I'd be looking around going, do any of you have a clue? Any of you? Judge, have you ever done this before? Do you know what you're doing? Because you're making a fool out of yourself, and that's just the way I would feel right now.
Yeah, just like I think the most powerful statement made the day of that court hearing on January 26th was when Ann Taylor made the comment right there in open court. The PCA is full of holes and half truths and inconsistencies. And I think that was the most powerful statement she has ever made in that court. And when she pointed at Brian and says, I would like to understand how they think he did all of this in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
She said, I honestly believe that PCA is full of holes, inconsistencies, and half truths.
Yeah,
Not
I
only
agree.
that, the crime scene was contaminated with all them people.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. If you think about past cases that we've seen through the years, even going back to something like the O.J. Simpson or various different crimes, the number one thing that was always attacked, and we all kind of got the idea, this is going to be a mistrial, this is going to be a dismissal, was crime scene contamination or evidence contamination or lost evidence or incorrect, whatever it might be within the investigation. And in this case, we're all supposed to just sit back and say, oh, well, they did it wrong. That's okay, because, they must have got him on something. Well, why would people just be okay with they did it wrong? Right there, we need to stop. This case should have been up for dismissal the minute it went to the court and said, look, we know this is the biggest case ever in Idaho history, but we had to put a halt to it right here because we already know how badly the crime scene was handled to start with. So until you come to this court with substantial evidence, give me blood, give me some sort of DNA, not just on a knife sheath, give me a full out background connection of how this guy connects to them, then we can start building a case outside of what was collected in that home.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, I've been around a lot of criminals, and if this was a pack mentality type crime, which nobody right now can come to me and prove to me this was not more than one that there's numerous people that could be involved in this. So if you're telling me numerous people are at the crime scene prior to police being called, I don't even care about the 8 hours before 911 was called. I care about the fact it's already been clearly stated people were in that home prior to the crime scene being closed off. That's all I care about.
Right.
Yeah,
I could have easily walked up those stairs if I was on the scene and just thrown something on a bed. I could have dropped something out of my pocket. I could have been wearing somebody else's shoes because I'd been drinking the night before and you called me to come over and help, and I just threw on the first pair of shoes I found. Now I've left a bloody footprint, the wrong size shoe. There's so many ways that's contaminated. And anybody that got there prior to the scene being correctly locked down could be any part of that. And that includes law enforcement prior to the actual main investigator showing up even 4 hours after the original law enforcement did.
Do you
'Cause
think
you
police showed up first, since are they like first responders come first, since it was just put a passed out person out front or something?
I don't think they came first. It's been known. People can talk about WSU Kim, but I will tell you
No
that she
thanks.
brought out a lot of things that we would have never known, that probably wouldn't have came forward, like all the people that showed up before the police, all the texts and the Snapchats that went on that morning. What I will say about Kim is that I believe that she heard so much stuff and that it's added to her story. Do I think she's lying? I think there's some mistruths there, but do I think she feels like she's completely telling 100% the truth? I do. I think she believes it all. But I do want to thank WSU Kim, because if she wouldn't have come out with the stuff she did, we might not even known all the people was standing outside.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and I'm going to make a statement. Like, I don't ever negatively talk. I don't know about, WSU Kim. I've never spoken to her personally. She's never come on one of my lives, nothing of that nature. So I can't downplay anything she said. It's not being correct. I would never tell somebody I think they're lying if I haven't actually had a communicative moment with them personally myself, where I can engage with them and hear what they have to say. But I think you're right. I think that she brought out some light on things that we wouldn't know about, um, because she put pressure, no matter whether the story's fully true or not true. I think she put some pressure in some areas that brought out some more info that may never have got brought out. But I will say, just in my own opinionated way, if law enforcement was confident in the way the crime scene was secured and handled at the very beginning, they would have released the 911 call.
Agreed.
They
Yeah.
can't release the 911 call because now it really opens the floodgate doors to all the chaos that was happening at the scene.
Yeah.
Not only that,
And
there's
they,
2 911 calls. If you remember, Steve and Christy said that Kaylee called 911 that night. Supposedly, she saw somebody in the trees, and they asked her if she was okay. You realize that 911 call has not been released either. So
correct.
actually, there was 2 that night.
Yeah, and that concerns me because that's public knowledge and public information that
Yeah.
usually
It's one of the first things dropped
is
usually.
released. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's something that, uh, I hate to use the word uncorruptible, but it's really hard to corrupt a phone call made by someone at the crime scene to a facility that's taking the call, as long as it's the whole recording and you can
Right.
hear it all clearly. That's uncorruptible, and it's going to point to how the beginning of the investigation began, the steps that were taken, and were they done properly. And I really have an issue with the fact, especially if that's true, Rock Chalk, if we have a second 911 call, meaning that there was one that actually happened prior to the crime happening, and
Mm-hmm.
then a fulfilled 911 call at the end of the crime with many hours of additional time prior to law enforcement being there, yet other people are already there. Now we really have a problem. Now
Yeah.
there's a
I find
real
that to be
problem.
true though, but
And see if you guys noticed, right around the original time of the killing, they actually released and showed that car uh, pulling in front of the house and then turning the corner and then going up and then coming back and and you haven't seen that footage since.
what criminal's
Yeah,
gonna do a 3-point turn and draw attention to themselves? They are.
not any that I'm very experienced in knowing or being around,
So a
because,
criminology major is gonna do that?
well, and that's been my biggest screaming argument within this when I do go to bat that, come on now, you're talking about people make mistakes when they commit crimes. I'll admit that all the time. There is not a perfect crime that can be done. No matter how good we are at it, we F something up. But we don't mess everything up. And literally, when you look at this crime and then you set Brian Koberger to the left, set the crime to the right, and let's make common sense of how many stupid things could possibly happen, all done by a PhD level person that their own students within the class he teachers aides for says he is overly critical when he grades and expects you to 100% know exactly the answer before he'll give you the good grade. So you're telling me that very critical thinker guy, which I always was when I did my dumb stuff, that very critical guy did everything that is necessary to get away with the crime in the exact way to catch you in the crime? That doesn't make sense to me. Makes none.
Yeah,
I
see,
have
just
to
like that
agree.
video we watched. Yeah, just like the video we watched last night. Through the sliding glass. It was from Wicked Truth, and they were going over Annie Elise. They stated in that he kept trying to talk over Kathleen Ramsland because he wanted to try to prove to her that he was smarter than her. But I've never heard anything about that.
No, actually, she is a witness for the defense, so I'm going to be really interested to hear that.
Wow.
I mean, if you really take Brian Koberger and you look at the mainstream media story, he's a stalker because that came out like right away. He was stalking. Then we got the 12 pings. So they're building the narrative from the very beginning into this stalker theme. And now I feel like that's dissipating a little bit now. But at the
What about
beginning,
the
that was
incel, too? Incel,
right.
too. Don't forget that, AR.
That was the exact route they wanted to take this right from the beginning. And mainstream media was driven that was the route they were going to project and get everybody to find him guilty and accepting of the arrest on. But then you really have to think about Brian Koberger. And I got attacked early on by some people that would come out and say, well, how you're a horrible criminal. Look at how much time you did. And blah. It's like, okay, you could put it that way, or you could put it as, I see that side of it too. I never got caught in the actual act of my crime. The investigators who did an immaculate job that were actually better at their job than I was got me. So I don't see anybody in this case capable of have catching a good criminal in this crime. I just don't see it. But I also don't see this defendant as dumb enough to be the guy that allowed himself to get caught the way he did, whether it be
Yeah.
stalking the house. Well, if you're stalking the house and you come the night that you're going to finally commit the crime, one, it's not going to be on the big game weekend. That would not be the night to choose. But two, you got to say I wouldn't drive my own car or bring my own cell phone. So
Right.
then we got to move to the next level of that. If I've been there and I've watched from close and afar and I've stalked numerous times, do I have to drive around that much? Do I literally have to try to figure out how to park and where? Do I need to do 3-point turns? Would I not know where the cameras were most likely at? Like, as a criminal, you figure these things out. And I just feel as though if Brian Koberger was piecing this together and finally made the emotional decision he was going to do it, because he would have to make that decision emotionally, mentally. This is more than just a physicality deal. This is emotionally and mentally. You got to make this decision. You got to be strong with the decision. And you would think the preparation would have guided him in a better way of avoiding cameras, not having issues driving around in circles, and all these issues. But then you tell me he's able to go in there and commit the perfect crime to where you don't find blood anywhere. You don't find. Come on now. I, uh, People in prison would be laughing about this right now. Like, you guys are foolish. You guys are foolish for even thinking that's possible.
Just it so strange that they didn't interrogate him. Is that going to be something? I feel like, did they and we don't know about it?
I think they did, and we don't know about it. My opinion. You can AR can give you his.
I've never seen a case of this magnitude where you wouldn't have an interrogation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
would
it
be
would be
very,
recorded. It would be
yeah,
recorded.
I would be very nervous going into this type of trial and not having an interrogation on film with at
Hmm.
least the discussion and the reaction to the questions and the mannerisms happening. It's not all about all the time what's said in the interrogation room,
Oh yeah.
because a lot of times people go quiet or people say, I'm not going to answer that. I mean, I was very good in interrogation rooms because I knew I'm just not going to talk. Like, say what you want. I'm not going to talk. But that did not mean I didn't give myself away in mannerisms or when a question was asked, how I reacted to that facial wise or hand movement wise. This is very odd if this goes to trial and they stick with the idea they do not have an interrogation or one on camera. I can't imagine it. I just can't.
You know, the other thing, AR, I find really hard is I have a cousin that works for Tulsa. He's always on the first 48 hours. I'm a big fan of the first 48 hours. I watch it a lot. And them not talking,
So do I.
canvassing the neighborhood and talking to people, do you really believe that that didn't happen? Because I'm confused. If it didn't, then this case is sunk. But
Yeah.
you
Right.
usually canvass the area, and we've seen nothing about that at all. And Harsh even said, Innan said they never talked to him. I'm real curious about that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I've been interrogated in that interrogation room so many times in cases I wasn't even involved in or around because they just wanted to get bits and pieces of information if maybe I had heard something or, had anybody tried to talk to me in regards to this or that. And I would think with Brian Koberger wanting to work in law enforcement, being a PhD student, and being around college kids, if even just outside of, we're not here to interrogate you for the crime, but we wanted, did you hear anything? You're a teacher's aide. You want to be in law enforcement. Did anything catch you off guard about maybe some a student was talking about? Something, something, but I don't know.
What you think, Robert?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert, what do you think?
This, just like the everything that's going on in Idaho is very, very complex. Yeah, you've got like my brother used to say you've got basically got to peel the onion to get down to the deeper layers of this case. And with what's going on with the college, with the video we just watched about them trying to purchase the University of Phoenix, and Scott Green setting up a nonprofit just to do that. I mean, like you said, AR, how can you set up a nonprofit to buy something that is for profit?
Well, I know if you and I did it, we would sure have some tax issues and probably more issues outside of that even.
Oh yeah, and then
AR,
yeah,
read back chat. I want you to read something in back chat while Robert's saying this, please. Clear over to the right. You'll be interested to know this. Go on, Robert. Sorry.
okay, and yeah, you have the freaking circle of alumni that is surrounding Brian Koberger, Ann Taylor, the judge, the prosecutor, the coroner, uh, Scott Green, of course, and the mayor. It's like a cabal there in freaking Moscow, Idaho. Everyone in that town, even the freaking governor, who's a U of I alumni, and he donated $1 million to the state police uh, to get the killers of the Idaho 4. This poor guy is being set up all around him. Yeah, I know Ann Taylor. She wants to try to give Brian the best, quote unquote, the best defense that she can give him. What if underlying she's also in on it?
Right. Right. Uh, I don't know. There's just so much oddity to what's going on. Now, I do have to, make clear that I don't agree with everything that all content creators put out there. Obviously, none of us do.
Yeah,
But there's some out there, like, you really have to be careful. Some people have projected that Ann Taylor could literally be a part of the organizational group that's controlling Cobra. I mean, let's not get too wildly out there in our thought processes.
yeah.
Ann Taylor, she's from
I was just
Idaho. She's
yeah
doing her job. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah.
is she the perfect?
I was just tossing
Right.
it out. I wasn't trying to imply anything on it. Ar.
No, and you know what? The thing about it is, in today's society, you never actually know, right? So could it possibly happen? Absolutely. I'm never going to say that it's not possible. I just personally think in this situation right now, the overall focus that needs to be placed in why all of this is going wrong is the actual state of Idaho itself. The way it handles certain things, the experience levels at very key parts of, let's say, law enforcement, prosecution, the experience level is going to be far lower than some of the bigger cities and areas and places that are more accustomed to crimes like this. I think their biggest failure is transparency. Why are
Yeah,
they so hidden? Why are they so quiet? I get that you want to protect your beautiful little state and keep it on the spectrum that we don't have crimes like this ever. I get that your colleges need to continue to profit and make money, and I get all that. But I also get, I've had to learn it. It took me a long time to do it. Honesty goes a long way in life, and being transparent can work out so many issues that could maybe bring more positivity and light into this very horrific crime, because it
yeah,
would make more sense. And then people could jump on board with, okay, that makes sense. This makes sense. But when all we're being fed is mainstream lies and garbage, and then we watch the very people that we're supposed to trust, that have investigated and are now prosecuting, stumbling and fumbling with their own words, because you can even tell in their mind they know they're not being honest or truthful in what they're saying. And then we're watching a judge that's handling this case in the weakest manner he possibly can, because I
yeah,
feel like he's tried to rush it. It's got to be a speed demon type of trial. And the problem with that is everybody knows these trials take years upon years, years,
yeah.
even in the most of experienced areas.
Yeah, because see, like Ann Taylor said that this trial is not going to be a 6 week trial. She said it's
Yeah.
going to be more like a 12 to 15 week trial. And then she filed her change of venue on the 1st of this month, and then on the 8th you have Bill Thompson. Oh no, we don't need a change of venue. I think it's all. I think it's all. I think it's all just a big misunderstanding. We can get a clean jury here in Latah County, here in Moscow. Uh, he does not want this trial moving out of his town. Yeah, because the way I see it, he thinks if he can find a jury, that's the quickest way to get this poor guy onto death row.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and I do want to put it out there through my experiences, and I know everybody knew change of venue was coming. That's obvious. We all knew it. I'm telling you now, there's going to be a motion to remove the judge from this case at some point. There
Mhm.
will be a motion to add defense counsel to help with the defense. There's also going to be a motion to replace Bill Thompson. And people would say, wait a minute, why? Well, because he wants to retire. He wants to retire. He's hanging on for the so-called families, but I'm telling you, he's not going to make it to the end of this trial. And they're going to need a prosecutor that, if for some reason this hits mistrial, they need a prosecutor that's going to be around for another 3 to 5 years. And Bill Thompson's not going to be that one. So Bill Thompson will not see the end of this case. He will not be there for this end of this trial. There's many more motions coming, many more. And it's going to be a flurry here for a little while. Like on the 28th, we have a hearing, we have things coming. But I'm telling you, for a year at some point, I don't know if it's going to be around the summertime when all the kids leave, or at some point in this very upcoming near future, you're not going to hear a peep about this case for a year. Not a peep.
Yeah, because Ann Taylor said that she's not going to be ready until March of 2025, or at least the summer of 2025, because she said, quote unquote, she still has 51 terabytes of data to go through, plus 9,000 tips. And she want, according to her in the January 26th hearing, she wants to bring in character witnesses for Brian, and she said that she wants to at least try to find 400 character witnesses for Brian, and she wants to tell Brian's story, and she wants to go back in his genealogy at least 3 generations. I don't know why she would want to do that, but
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I mean, it's there's so much that's still going to go on in this, and it's really, for somebody. I had a much smaller situation in one of my cases that took 8 years to finally make it to trial, and they dismissed it on day 2 of trial.
Oh
8
my
years
God.
of work to get to trial, not only by the defense. Thankfully, my defense stood with me. It worked so hard all the way through it, but it was so many years of motions and battle. And then finally we make it to trial, and I'm thinking, oh man, it's been a long time. I've really aged a lot. I've been housed in the penitentiary now for 8 years on this. Hopefully this starts off well. And then to hear it's dismissed on day 2, never to be heard again, never to be refiled, never to be brought up again. They just dismissed it. All the dismissal paperwork came through. I went back to my cell at the penitentiary. I never heard another word about it.
Wow.
So could that possibly happen in this case too? It wouldn't surprise me. And I
yeah,
know
see,
to
like,
many people it would
yeah,
be a surprise. To me, it won't be.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
see, like, right after that court hearing on the 26th, Steve, it was Shannon Gray made his press rounds, stating that the families of victims that was in the court that day, and they heard that this trial is not going to possibly start till sometime next year, according to Shannon Gray. All of their hearts dropped, because according to Shannon Gray, Christy and Steve is wanting this matter resolved so they can finish their grieving process.
Yeah, I had a lawyer one time. I don't know if it was appropriate for him to do it, but it was in one of our cases, and he stood up because it was almost the same battle. It felt like the case was being dictated to the victims' families and making them feel okay and blah blah. My lawyer stood up and said, "You know what? They're going to be in pain either way. They are going to cry every single night they go to sleep. They're going to be in pain either way. So why are we going to screw the defendant, my client, just to take what 10 minutes worth of crying away from them? And it made sense to me. It hit me like you guys are trying to rush this case to appease to them, but they have a lifetime of pain. They're going to live either way. Don't they want
Yeah.
the right guy? Don't they want the right end result? Because how are they going to feel? How are the Gonzalez and everybody that shows up in the courtroom going to feel when this case gets a mistrial or a dismissal 2 years from now, and they got to start over at brand new basics? They got to start
saying.
over at the very fresh beginning. Are they going to
And
be
see, here's
happy
what's weird.
It
was here's what's weird. The Gonzalez family is the only one speaking up. You don't see the Mogans on TV. You don't see the Cronodals on TV. You don't see the Chapins on TV. The only people you see on TV is Stephen, Christie, and Olivia and their son. That's it.
Well, no, not too long ago, Ben, Maddie's dad, did an interview because I saw it. We ought to pull that for another live. It was at a Starbucks that him and Maddie went to. It was a really good live that I saw, and then briefly, the Chapins haven't talked much about it. I agree with that, but they briefly said a few things. The ones that I've seen that really hasn't talked out would be Jeff Kernodle. And of course, Kara tried to speak out, but as AR and I both know, she knows as much as we do because they hadn't told her anything because of her situation. Right, AR? Am I right about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely correct.
Eric,
And what's really crazy too is the Chapins have been very quiet and said they're not even going to attend the trial. Yet today, Stacy Chapin posted on her Instagram a picture of her standing directly in front of the Latah County Courthouse.
So weird.
And I get it. As
that's
a
what Eric's
parent, I would have a hard time getting in front of cameras just because I say that here I am a YouTube creator. Yeah, I don't want to get in front of the camera. But it's a little different when you're kind of in the private of your own home, just doing a video. And, I could not do mainstream media. I can't do, a lot of, what these people are pushed to have to do. So I understand the staying out of the limelight. I really do. But I've also, wondered, I think losing a child would make you more determined or more vocal, push a little bit harder, and maybe I'm wrong. But if they
But
felt as though
did you send your other two kids back to them schools? Like, they confuse me.
No,
I don't want to talk
no.
bad about them, but they do confuse me. I will say that.
Did you see what Eric said on the screen?
Yeah, and that if I had, well, I mean, I could even give kind of a decent, kind of an example. My wife's job, a few years ago, they had a shooting at the building. I told my wife, I said, I don't want you working at that building. It's, security was deemed to be bad. It just, it didn't seem right. I don't like it. I'm not, demanding anything of you, but I would feel much more comfortable if you could switch offices or, go somewhere else, and if you have to, even leave the job, and I'll find a way to make the income. But she understood. She was like, yeah, now it feels dangerous to me. So why, the kids are back at the college acting as if it's okay, nothing happened. The parents don't seem to be pushing for more safety on the campus. I mean, I would at least be out there promoting better security, better classroom security, home security, all kinds of stuff.
Yes, what's odd? What's odd to me, AR, is the time of the murders, right? they put, the same day they put out the shelter in place for the students, but then like 40 minutes later they removed the shelter in place. Yeah, that kind of baffles me. Yeah, them telling them, "Oh, it's okay, everything's fine," but yet the killer still hadn't been arrested yet. So a lot of these students, they left, they refused to come back to the school, and they wanted to do everything online. Uh, it was that like a false pretense by the college and the police, saying, "Oh, yeah, everything's just fine," even though 4 students got murdered in their off-campus home,
I
and
think
then
that was their way to let the students go home. I don't think anybody should have ever been allowed to leave.
Yeah, no, I think that actually was the beginning of showing of the inexperience. And right then, we should have also begin to notice the non-transparent way that they were giving information to the public, hiding information behind closed doors, and then just not even properly working through how a investigation would normally go. But maybe they tried to make up their own rules or the own way that they wanted to go, but it wasn't proper, and it no family, no parents of any of the kids at that university should at all feel like secure or content with the safety of their child, even today after the fact, because it's not like it improved.
No, and there's
May,
more questions now.
Right.
yeah.
yeah, see, just like with Dylan and her statement at the memorial service. If you notice, everything was coming out of her mouth was my this, my that, my
Wait a
this,
minute.
my that.
Wait a minute. When was Dylan at the memorial service?
No, it was a letter that she had wrote,
Okay.
and somebody had read it. Somebody had read it at the memorial service,
See,
and
I have a
everything.
problem with that, Robert, because
Huh?
I have a problem with that because we don't really know that she wrote that. Like, I'm so confused about a lot of things, Robert, for the fact that she just lost her roommates and she wrote a letter supposedly and had somebody else read it. How do we even? I don't think she said clad in black. How do we know she even wrote that letter? I'm so confused about a lot of this.
Well, and that's the thing too, Rock Chalk. I 100% agree with you because I mean, from both of our
Do I?
backgrounds, law
And I love you,
enforcement
Robert.
over.
I'm not debating you. I'm sorry. I'm not debating you. I love you to death. I'm just
Yeah.
I love
saying.
you too, Rock Chalk.
Go
Uh,
ahead, AR. I'm sorry.
the entire reasoning that I am supportive of that idea is in the extreme grief of something like this happening. And law enforcement that does investigation knows it, and so do criminals on the other side. People don't write it. It's very hard to pick up that pen and paper and put the exact words you want to say down on that paper, because even when you speak person to person about it, you get emotional caught up, the words don't flow correctly. So if she were to write something like that, how many times did she have to throw the paper away before she finally got it down properly? And she's young, she's a freshman in college. They're not writing more than they have to. They're not, we're not writing love letters here. They don't want to write their papers for their classes or their theses or anything of that nature. Well, why would they do that? I mean, I just don't see it. I think that she just kept her mouth shut and she had nothing to say. So if somebody says that she wrote something like that, I believe somebody else wrote it for her. Maybe a
Yeah,
family
because it
member,
was
maybe somebody.
it was a joint statement from her and Bethany. So maybe Bethany wrote Dylan's part.
I don't know that either one wrote it. Like, I know you're saying they did and they said they did, but anybody could have wrote it, and I'm confused on that. But you guys
Yes,
covered something a while ago that I wrote down here because I want to cover it. In the last interview with Steve and Christy, I got the impression from Christy that she was ready basically for the firing squad for Brian. But I got the impression from Steve, and we'd have to pull up that interview. But
do that
if
right now.
he said if Brian is the one who did this, Okay, if Brian is the one who did this, and the only one, he should go down. We need to rewatch it. He made me question whether or not he really thinks it's Brian, and if it's Brian, I got the impression he don't think he did it alone. I want to watch that again because that's
I'm
been on my
interested in
mind
starting
for
your
a
own
very long
faceless
time.
YouTube automation channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
loading
feel
it up
like
right now.
I don't
Thank
think
you.
Steve has ever felt that a single individual was capable of doing this. I think Christy is just emotionally enough to grab anybody that could possibly be guilty of this and have that person take the full out wrath for doing it.
See,
And then
me as
just
a parent, I couldn't do that, AR. I would want the right person and the right people. Every damn one of them. I would want all of them.
I
Every
just
one of them.
and please, nobody take this as me like family bashing or anything. I've never been impressed with her personality, socialing skills, or the way she looks or treats other people. I'm sorry, I just haven't been that connected to Christy. The father, Steve, I get his anger, I get his outrage, I get everything about it. He's a little more connectable, I guess, to listen to and hear out, where I don't feel the same way with Christy. And maybe it's just something with me that I don't know. Maybe the way she blinks her eyes frustrates me. I don't know. But
Yeah.
there's
I have
something I
another.
just don't.
Yeah.
The
I have
Idaho
another question,
student
AR.
murders. The suspect expected
Okay.
due in court this morning. As we hear from the family of Kaylee Gonzalez, they're sharing never before released images of their daughter. And our Kana Whitworth sat down with them and joined us from Moscow, Idaho. Good morning, Kana.
Michael, good morning. An incredibly emotional conversation. Kaylee's mom says she feels like they've been in limbo now for more than a year. And while she's hopeful as they get ready for these two pivotal hearings here today, mostly what they want is a trial date to be set.
We're just left in limbo.
This morning, Kaylee Gonzalez's parents sharing exclusively with GMA never before seen pictures and videos of their 21-year-old daughter.
There's a type of, you can like season with these, like can't really season with them, but you can cook with them.
Yeah, I know that's in front of the tower.
Yeah.
This is in front of the University of Idaho Tower.
The family still waiting on a full digital copy of Kaylee's phone from authorities.
These are the last moments of your child's life, and you're sitting here fighting with somebody who just doesn't care.
They were able to collect some of Kaylee's belongings from the university over the summer, which raised concerns for them about how well possible evidence was processed, including a trash can from Kaylee's room that was full and appeared untouched.
We opened it. It was a little squeezy applesauce thing like you would give to like a toddler. It did not appear to have been gone through.
Police saying they had gathered more than 100 pieces of physical evidence from the scene, along with some 4,000 photos and 3D scans of the residence. Still, frustration mounting for the family over what they consider a lack of communication and a rush to tear down the home on King Road. Christy describes for the first time how Kaylee was found.
It's my understanding Kaylee was kind of sitting up.
Yes.
And had fought.
Yeah. And the way that room's put together, if you come through that door, you can't get out of that room.
Completely, totally trapped.
You're in a bed.
Tiny room. The bed was the entire room. You could barely open up the door without swiping the foot of the bed. And it was wall. You know, the headboard was up against the wall. The side where Kaylee was on was up against the wall. And if you can imagine Kaylee in an upright sort of position up in the corner, slumped. I mean, she was trapped.
The home on King Road was torn down in the pre-dawn hours of December 28th. Now, the first torn down in the pre-dawn hours
She
of December
said she was
28th.
shot, didn't she not?
No,
Now,
she
the
said
first of the two
shoot.
hearings today is
Did
closed
she?
to the public. The judge.
Did she say shot?
Yeah, at the very beginning of all of this, Christy
on King Road.
stated that when they were notified in
The home
regard
on
to
King
their
Road
daughter,
was
it
torn
was originally they were shot.
Oh.
So yeah, that was the original that the
While
family
you're talking
heard.
about that, that was what I was fixing to ask. So the niece called, is what Christy said. The niece called and said something happened to Kaylee, that she was shot, and then other things were said. Does anybody other than myself, uh, do you believe that, okay, as strong as Steve is, do you believe for a minute he stayed at that house and waited for the police to come till 4:05, or do you think he took that drive to go
There would have
see?
been no way he stayed home.
Exactly.
He'd have been on the road while the phone call was still happening.
I feel that way too, and everybody else has argued with me, and I'm like, no way. The guy he wants answers, and he's so into this. There's no way they got a phone call at 10 or even 1. Okay, we'll just say 1, and waited for police to come at 4:05. I don't
No,
believe that.
he would have tore out of the driveway. I mean, I've seen his personality in so many people through the years. He would have been on his way, looking at every corner for who could have possibly been doing it. I mean, his mind would have been going 1,000 miles an hour. No, he would have been all over that. All over it.
Thank you, because I've had that question, and I've had people argue with me, and I'm like, listen, I'm a parent, and Steve seems very much like me in a way. There's no
Yeah.
way I'd have been there waiting just for the police to come to me. I'd have had to go there. I'd had to.
Yeah, Bianca
there would
K
have
just
been.
said Bianca K just said my dad would have been on the road.
Yep. No
No,
doubt
mine
about
too.
it. No doubt about it. I think Kaylee was literally his baby. Like, Kaylee was his all everything.
Yeah, it seems that way when he talks about her. I'm wondering if what you see in his wife, in the wife, is just like trauma, that she's just like so
No,
traumatized.
I'm just going to be honest with you. There's something deep down within her that's either based off of anger or jealousy. There's something deep down within her. And I'm not calling her a bad person. I'm just giving you a perspective of, like, I've had to learn how to analyze people because I had to protect myself in the worst of worst scenes with the bad people all around you that are mind game players. And so I had to keep myself on edge and keep myself alive. And I learned real quick, like, just to and never judge based upon that until they give you a reason.
Right.
But when I look at her and then I'd listen to her controlling the conversation within the the newscasts or the shows that they're doing. And Steve wants to be completely supportive of her because he sees the pain, and he's in real pain as well. But you could tell, like, at the end of the day, she is not the absolute big-hearted lover that Steve is. Steve loved his family and took care of his family. Christy's just a little bit different. There's just something there. I can't just pin it down to describe it perfectly. But there's something there. Like, if Christy was Kara's position on a prison yard, Christy would be the fighter, where Kara's just trying to make it through without getting hurt or, reeled into an issue.
Yeah.
Christy would be the fighter on the yard. She'd be instigating something, and that, the people running the yard would have to be like, oh man, I gotta quiet her down somehow, or,
Yeah, see, just
So-
like going back to when they were in front of the being interviewed by that Lawrence Jones. Here, I'll go back to that real quick. You could tell that Steve had passion, and she was standing there going, "Calm down, calm down, calm down."
Yeah. Control.
Yeah,
Control.
I can see that
And
too.
if you pull that control away for a moment, then you're going to see the anger and the jealousy. Pull it
Scary.
away just for a moment, and you'll see the look on her face begin to show anger.
Like
If
a
that makes
mask.
sense.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
mask.
Good evening,
Yeah.
American. Welcome to the special edition of Cross Country in Moscow.
Idaho. Tonight, we are in front of the Moscow Police Department, and you may be asking why. It's been about 3 weeks since the horrific stabbing death of 4 college students at the University of Idaho. 3 weeks since we lost Zayna, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan. 3 weeks, and still the police have no suspect or person of interest. The community has been left in limbo, left with more confusion and more questions. We are on the hunt for answers for them. Moscow deserves answers. The students of the university deserve answers. These 4 young, innocent victims deserve answers, and so do their families. So let's start there. Joining me now on set, the parents of Kaylee Gonzalez, Christy and Steve Gonzalez. Thank y'all so much for being with me. You guys have been so transparent and strong for the public. Christy, you called the person that did this the boogeyman.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's literally like what nightmares are made of. Like when you're a little kid and you think of the boogeyman, that's just how I feel. Like that's just the horrific details of everything. Them just having a good time, going home and going to bed, and this happening to them.
Your best friend crawling into bed.
Just crawling in bed.
Every
and
girl
the
in
boogeyman
America
comes.
knows what that's
The
like.
boogeyman doesn't, meet you at McDonald's. I mean, the boogeyman comes and snatches you out of your bedroom.
Steve, we've been talking. I've been talking to folks in the community. You said something that stuck with me. You said, until this person is caught, you can't sleep in your bed.
No, I can't just lay in my bed and do nothing. That's not the way I raised my family. That's not the way I raised my girls and my son. You don't be a victim. You stand up for yourself and you do everything in your power to make sure people hear you. And they're gonna hear Kaylee. They're gonna hear Maddie. They're gonna hear these.
The other 2 as well.
Yes.
All of them.
I'm careful saying anything about them because I need to be careful because I can't speak on somebody else's child. But these 2 girls, I'm not trying to be a glory hound, but these 2 girls, I'm going to do what I can do. And we're not being victims. We're going to fight. We're going to figure out how to make sure that we hold everybody, accountable, and we keep eyes and attention on this and get this thing resolved.
Steve, you have made it very clear to our audience that you are supportive of law enforcement. You support the investigation. But recently, I've been watching and talking with you, and you're getting frustrated. What does that frustration come from, sir?
They put certain people between you and the officers that are making things happen. And those people are like lawyers and they don't want to say anything. And they don't have the guts to come up and be alpha and be like leaders and say, hey, we might say something that's wrong. We're going to take that hit. So the officers, they look me straight in their eyes. The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can. But somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released. It seems like they're trying to suppress the story. We want to put rewards out there. Like, don't do that. Yeah, I get it. Your town doesn't want to have reward posters posted all over when you come and you do your rush. You're not going to get a lot of students if they see those things. But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday, we looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
About 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And
did y'all get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They
Via
needed me to
text.
sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something.
Some mail.
That was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
The FBI, everybody that's here. We just have no information as family, and it gets tough day after day after day. I mean, every day you just wake up and think today's the day. We're going to hear something, and you see these, there's a break in the case, and it'll just be something stupid.
The sixth person on the lease that was never there. Stop playing games. This is serious. These are people's lives, and this is the future of this community. There's going to be 10,000, 15,000 kids that come into this community next year, or they don't. So be serious.
I had the opportunity to speak to some of my sources, and I've been told that there were differences in the way that the victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other. And this week we heard the target attack walk back and then reverse it back to it being a target attack. What can you tell us about the targeted attack?
They have told us that it was targeted, but they told us they can't tell who. We asked specifically, and they said, we'll try to get that information to you. And they got back to us a day or so later, and they said, we're sorry, we can't give you that information. But then a day later, we saw in the news that it was not targeted, or they think the whole house was targeted. But
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match.
Maddie's
They don't.
and Kaylee's cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have to
may
go
have
up
been
the
a target.
steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps. They're mad.
What do you mean by that? They didn't have to go up the steps.
You know, and that's where I think the transparency through law enforcement even had them baffled at the very beginning. And I think they were told a lot of different versions of what possibly happened. And unfortunately, these two, you could tell Steve is a listener and he hears everything that you say and he compartmentalizes that and he's not going to forget it. So, as things continuously change in the story, back and forth, Steve is not going to let go of certain parts of that. And when he also makes this statement that people are going to get drugged through the dirt in this situation, then he's making a pretty clear statement like, hey, some of you guys out there, family members, all have reasoning and dirt that it plays a part in this. Be prepared for it all to come out. And I think when he made that statement, because I really analyzed, I listened to everybody that spoke upon that, many great thoughts, many great theories. It's been talked about a lot. I truly, in the back of my head, even though they've kind of molded it like Maddie or Kaylee were the actual targets, I think in their mind there's two ways they look at it. Maybe they don't feel like they were the actual targets, but they ended up being a part of the crime. Or I actually feel as though the way they state they were being hunted or tracked, that this crime could have happened outside of the home or individually, and they didn't have to do it the way they did within the home. So it's kind of torn me in a couple of different directions. Like, if you had an issue with Maddie, why don't you catch Maddie when she's alone? You don't have to go up, on this night and get everybody. You could have waited and caught her by herself or some of that nature. But again, at the end of the day, it just really comes down to the lack of transparency. And maybe I need to be more open-minded and say, you know what, the Gonzalez have unfortunately been let down by the investigation and the communication through the Idaho method that they do, and I need to have a little bit more feeling towards that as well. But I honestly think that Christy was probably such a hell-bent mother that just lost her daughter that maybe she made it very difficult for them to talk. Because I typically do feel as though law enforcement's very good at coddling and holding on to the victims' families, allowing them to cry and talk and share info, and they try to, and it feels like almost in this case they pushed the Gonzalez away, like, go away, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you, go over there.
Their points of damage don't match. I'm from me.
Calm down.
If you don't want to say nothing, that's your bet. But don't say I'm leaking anything. I paid that bill. Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in a box, and I can speak on that.
I was also told from sources that are closer to an investigation, because There was a lot of roommates in there. And this was horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The preservation of this crime scene. Witnesses tell me that it may have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked, and it's. I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911.
Yeah, they gotta
Somebody was
go.
reported unconscious. We don't really know. I mean, we've heard so many different things, and nothing has been clarified or been told to us at all. And I mean, I don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you've asked that, but we know that this is getting 3 weeks in and it's starting to get, we don't want it to go cold. We're reaching out. I reach out.
They don't want it to go cold.
Yeah.
Hey
But I was
guys, give me a quick minute. The doggy's got to go potty, so I'm gonna step down for a second. I'll be right back.
What about? I noticed when he was
Okay.
commenting that the dad mentioned that they're so they have to worry about their rush. That's like I've been saying before. That's why I think everything's so strange, because the Greek system, they have to worry about new members coming in for the rush.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a weird thing to add to that conversation. I mean, it's a true, clearly it's
Yeah,
true, but
what do you
it's like it's so weird.
Yeah, what do you think, Rough Shock?
I think Steve is a very strong person, very much an alpha. There was another video, and it was with the same guy that you just had, and it was one of the very last ones. And he says in that video that basically, if Brian's the one that did it, that he wants to see the death penalty, but he didn't seem real secure on the fact that he thought it was Brian alone. I want to find that interview for you because it really catches me off. But also, I want you to show that one, the knocking down on the house. I'm sure everybody in the chat has an opinion on that, but I had tagged you in it. Did you see it? Is that what you're playing now?
Yeah.
I am joined now live by Steve Gonzalez. He is the father of one of the 4 students killed, Kaylee Gonzalez.
Yeah,
Steve,
this
thank
is
you
it.
for
Thank
being
you.
on tonight. Just your reaction to getting this news. Was this a surprise, hearing that there's a date scheduled and it is December 28th?
Yeah, I was surprised that we're at a moment in the case that we don't even have a trial date. We've had a trial date for almost the vast majority once they had a suspect. So we don't have a trial date, but we have a date to have, largely the biggest piece of evidence being destroyed, which just seems backwards.
So I would have expected that something this monumental would have been discussed behind the scenes, that your lawyer, Shannon Gray, would have been in conversations at least to give you guys, enough time to process this. And it sounds like that's not the case. You didn't get much time, different than the time that we got in terms of this announcement.
No, and I kind of take this as from a perspective of that my opinion's not important as a parent. That's not it. What is important is the lead investigators at the county, state, and federal level, and it is to my knowledge that they are not in all agreement. And we tried to get them to all come in agreement and address, come out with a formal statement. So if they can't all agree, I find it very hard for the parents to all agree. We're all trying to get through this the best way we can. I want to be absolutely respectful to every single one of the parents. I understand that this has to go down, and I'm not going to fight it forever. And I want to be careful what I fight because this is a losing battle. But
Well, and
you know,
it's a long battle as well, as we've come to understand. That brings me to the issue of Mrs. Chapin. Ethan Chapin's mom, Stacy, has given that statement to me saying that, we're okay with this at this point. We agree with the university. We think it's in the best interest of the kids who are there, including her 2 kids and the community as a whole. What are your thoughts about that?
I totally respect it. I get it. I have leaked footage. I've seen things that they may have not seen. I know for a fact the path that this white salon, this car took, and people are going to wonder what he was doing when he parks in certain locations for extended amount of time. What was he looking at? I want to know what he was looking at, and I don't know how you can see what this man was looking at without the house being there. What windows was he peering into? Why did he pick that location to stop at? Why did he keep going back to these certain locations? And I don't know about the other 12 or 13 times that he was there. I
Robert,
just know of the day that this happened
Yeah.
in the footage that was
did he
given
say
to me.
Sonata?
So
let me go back.
Can you go back a little bit? Maybe I heard it wrong, but I swear he started to say Sonata. Sorry, guys. Sorry,
Yeah,
chat.
you heard it too.
for extended amount of time, what was he looking at? I want to know what he was looking at. And I don't know how you can see what this man was looking at without the house being there. What windows was he peering into? Why did he pick that location to stop at? Why did he keep going back to these certain locations? And I don't know about the other 12 or 13 times that he was there. I just know of the day that this happened in the footage that was given to me. So I'm going to do what's best for my girl. I'm going to protect her. I'm going to weigh on the side of what's best for her and making sure that I'm not going to let something slip through our hands that I could have said something. But I do understand it has to go.
I have this question for you because up until now I hadn't really contemplated
Did we
this,
go
but
back far enough,
do
Robert?
you think it's at all possible that the
Hold on.
prosecution is so
I am so sorry,
issue
people.
of
I
Mrs.
swear he
Chapin?
started to say
Ethan
White
Chapin's mom,
Sonata.
Stacy, has
Yeah.
given that
Yeah.
statement to me saying that, we're okay with this at this point. We agree with the university.
Sorry,
We think it's in the
folks.
best interest of the kids who are there, including her 2 kids and the community as a
You're
whole.
okay,
What are your
Rob.
thoughts about that?
I totally respect it. I get it. I have leaked footage. I've seen things that they may have not seen. I know for a fact the path that this white salon, this car took.
Right
And
He
there.
said
people are
What did
going
he
to
Sonata.
say?
wonder what he was
I
doing
think
when he
he's saying
parks
cilantro instead of
extended
elantra.
amount of time. What was he looking at?
I swear I heard Sonata.
I've seen things that they may have not seen. I know for a fact the path that this white salon, this car took.
He went to say
And people are
Sonata.
going to wonder what he was doing when he parks in
I
certain
think so
locations
too.
for extended
Wow.
amount of time. What was
I
he
hadn't
looking
caught
at?
that before. Sorry, guys.
I want to know what he was looking at.
That makes a
And I don't know
difference.
how you can
Yeah,
see
go back
what
one
this
more
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I've seen things that they may have not seen. I know for a fact the path that this white salon, this car took. And people are going to wonder
He
what
quickly
he was
covered it
doing
up,
when he
didn't he?
parks in certain locations
Yes.
for extended amount
I've
of
never
time.
caught
What
it
was he
before.
looking at?
Sorry.
I want to know what he was looking at. And I don't know how you can see what this man was looking at without the house being there. What windows was he peering into? Why did he pick that location to stop at? Why did he keep going back to these certain locations? And I don't know about the other 12 or 13 times that he was there. I just know of the day that this happened in the footage that was given to me. So I'm going to do what's best for my.
Who gave him the footage?
Yeah. And what is the footage?
You
I
think
think
it
it's
could
the
have been
Linda
that?
Lane.
Oh, do you think it could have been that light bulb camera that was on 1112 King Road? Do you think they could have? Do you think they could have give him? Because from what I heard, is the occupants of that house, which they moved out like the day after the murders, gave that light bulb camera to Olivia Gonzalez.
No.
Do you think that do you think that he has that light bulb camera?
I don't, only in the fact that unless he got it before the police did, because normally the police would get the footage, but they would scrub it so that it couldn't be shared. I'm so confused. Interesting. I don't know, Robert, the answer to that
Girl,
question.
I'm going to protect her. I'm going to weigh on the side of
It's
what's
thought
best for
provoking, though,
her,
isn't it?
and making sure that I'm not going to let something slip through our hands that I could have said something. But I do understand it has to go.
I have this question for you because up until now I hadn't really contemplated this, but do you think it's at all possible that the prosecution is so confident about their case, they're not worried at all about the house standing?
I've been told that exact thing. I've been told 100%. The amount of stuff we have, Steve, relax. You're a very aggressive a father. Relax. But it's not in my character to just sit back and just know that an opportunity isn't being seized upon. And I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't live with myself if later on, something happened and a jury member said, you know what, it really came down to the fact that I couldn't see firsthand. They told us the ideal jury member was someone who had thousands of acres and had no time to watch TV. He was out on the farm. Well, I don't feel like that kind of guy is going to see the footage that I seen and not want to understand what was going on in the house. And a computer program is going to mean nothing to that farmer. Almost zero value in a computer model to a farmer like that.
I want to dovetail off something you just said, and that is that they've told you that, Steve, the amount of stuff we have, relax. Are you referring to like victims advocates or people actually in the know of the case, that they have such a solid case that you should rest easy?
Because I've made myself vocal, people have reached out to me, and some of those people have just said that if what I know is accurate, Steve, there's a massive amount of information. This case will open up other investigators to know that there's a whole nother level of data being collected on people, and some of that will come out.
Rock, did you hear that?
That's
The whole
scary.
level of data being collected on people, that got my eye. Was there something else?
Yeah, that's cool.
Robert?
What do you think? What do you think about
what I
Robert?
know is accurate.
I honestly think he thinks Brian's innocent.
I don't know that he thinks he's innocent, but I've caught him in several different things where I don't think it's just I don't think he thinks it's just Brian.
Did you guys see Pavarotti today? I don't know what his channel's name is.
I have not, because I was busy.
Today he had a video about Brian Koberger and Brian Kopacka.
Brent
Kopacka? Oh, Brent. Yeah, Brent Kopacka. Sorry, having like some other connections. I didn't get to watch all of it. I just saw it for a second, but it sounded like it was something interesting.
You know what, Robert?
Steve, there's a massive amount of information.
Go ahead. I want you to finish this. Sorry.
I'm gonna take it back just a little bit.
Because I've made myself vocal, people have reached out to me, and some of those people have just said that if what I know is accurate, Steve, there's a massive amount of information. This case will open up other investigators to know that there's a whole nother level of data being collected on people, and some of that will come out in this case.
Thank you for watching.
Wow.
Go to NewsNation now.
Like what? That's what I was talking about. Like it seems to me like something bigger is going on. Like who in there is like an undercover person.
Yeah, Robert, I think that this is something that we might want to dig some more into
Yeah.
and go over. Let's pull up, not tonight. Listen, you've been on 3 hours and 11 minutes. I don't know if you guys can tell my voice. I did a lot of screaming at the basketball game, and I drove an hour and a half there and an hour and a half home. And I'm really tired. So I'm going to be getting down from here. But Robert, maybe we need to get together and do another live, and Sophie, you too.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just go over all the interviews with Steve G. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because he seems to want to be really honest, and he also knows he can't say things.
But he does slip
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
times. And I'm telling you, I've watched this same interview because I sent it to you 1,000 times, and I just now caught the sonata come out of his mouth.
Yeah. And then he quickly covered it up.
Mm-hmm.
And as interested, what do you think, chat? As interested as you are in this Idaho 4 case, what do you think about Robert going over, pulling up every interview we can find that Steve G did and go over them again? What do you think, Sophie? You're up
Yeah.
here. What do you think?
Yeah, I would love to see because I really do. Right now, when I've watched this video that we just watched. Right, I'm sure we've all watched it, but the thing that I hadn't caught before was him saying like everybody's being watched or what's that mean? That's pretty obtuse.
Yeah, taking everyone's data and a new level of investigators.
Right.
And we could spend one time doing that. And then we could also do, depending on how long them are, we could do one even on with Christy because she's actually let some stuff go too. I'm just extremely tired, and I love Robert to death. And Sophie, you seem super sweet, and I love chat. But when lives start going over 2 and 3 hours long,
Yeah.
it's exhausting. Not only that, if you have people on rewatch and they see a live that's 6 hours, a lot of them won't watch it because 6 hours is a long time.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
If you
point.
all
I
can
totally not
continue,
know. So.
please don't quit because of me, Robert, because
I'm not.
I'm just saying sometimes they just get too long, and then you got
Yeah.
subscribers that won't watch them because they are too long. But I am absolutely wanting to go over Steve's stuff if you guys are, because I caught
Yeah.
a lot. It looks like Eric said that he caught a lot. What do you think, Ashley? About she thinks it's a great idea. Theta says it's a great plan. Like Robert, how about we do the next live something like that? What do you think?
Yeah, if you want to, we can do it tomorrow night.
Oh, I can't tomorrow night. I'm sorry. My
Sunday?
kid fights UFC, and I'm into UFC big time. And I pay 80. I pay $80 for that UFC. I gotta watch it.
Yeah, you do.
But
What about Sunday, Rock?
Sunday I'm good if everybody else is good. But you don't have. You can do it without me, and I can rewatch at any given time. I can always rewatch. But
I'm
if
going
you
to be
want me,
busy tomorrow, but I could do Sunday also.
okay, thank you. Because I'm not afraid to speak up. That's one thing you guys will figure out. But you wouldn't hurt my feelings doing it without me at all. But I'm glad
I want to
everybody
hear
wants
your
to do it.
opinion.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
we
glad
want to
everybody
hear what
wants
you
to do
say.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow's a great card, Eric. Yeah, my kid, if you know Tim Elliott, that's one of my kids, and he's a real good UFC fighter. Yeah, Robert, let's try to do it Sunday. If you could get around and figure out a time. And Sophie, you're interested. Looks like a lot of people's interested. And
Yeah.
let's do it, guys. I think it'd be great because I learned
Yeah.
a lot just in that little clip that I found.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I've seen it already, but it really some more things really stuck out to me this time.
I think when you go over it by yourself, it's And also, if you haven't joined the Discord, please do. Please join Robert's. If somebody could drop that Discord, I know you've been doing it a lot. But if you haven't joined, Sophie, have you joined Robert's Discord?
I don't even know what Discord is.
Oh, it's really easy. Just Google it, and
Okay.
then and we'll drop the link several times. But it's a
Okay.
place also that we can go in and talk, and Robert can talk, and we can talk about things that we want to do for the show, and it's actually really good. It's a really good one.
Thanks,
It's something
Bianca.
really good to do. We got an Idaho 4 area on there, uh, where you can go look at some stuff that's been dropped. Kelly's been putting a lot in there. She's got a lot of things, and I can't even explain it. Sipa is still asleep somewhere, but he is a Discord king. And we even got a fur babies area where you can go post pictures of your fur babies, and you ought to
Oh,
check out the Discord. Thank you, Bianca. But
I will.
Robert's going to be more active in it, and also it's an easy way to send him stuff through Discord that might take longer through a email. And if there's something that you guys want to talk about, he can even talk to you one on one in a Discord chat that nobody else gets. So it's something that you might want to do, Sophie. We're really trying to get his Discord going because it is a very handy tool. Very, very
Okay.
handy. As
Okay.
long
I'll just,
as a lot of people,
Ashley Ann says, let's reach out to Dolphin for that purpose. She's amazing.
yeah, yeah. Let's bring her to. Let's get her to Robert's Discord. Anyway, it's something that we have voice chat in there. We can go and chat. There's just a lot, and like I said, there's a Idaho 4 area where if you've got information on Idaho 4 that you can drop in there, and anybody can go in there and look at it, and y'all might find something that me and Robert might not find. Like I said, Nina Kelly, she's put a lot of stuff in there, and I haven't even. I look at it and I'm overwhelmed, but I am going to go through it.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I will definitely do it. You guys keep talking about it, and I kept thinking, I wonder what Discord is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think everybody should join it. Like it's gonna help us as a group. You guys are part of Robert. Like we're a family here, and it'll help us also cover the things we want. And just that little clip, like we just had, look how much many of us have questions just over that little 5 minute clip.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a question for. There's a question for you on screen, Rock. Rock.
On screen.
Yeah.
Could I join Discord, Robert? Yes. Yeah. Do you have a Discord account? If you don't have a Discord account, please Google it, make a Discord account, and then what we'll do, because the link has to be dropped. If
Okay.
we drop the link now, I think it only lasts an hour. But like when you
Bianca
click that
just did.
Discord, yeah, when you click that Discord link, let me click it real quick. Sorry, I talked too much. I got a cough.
Yeah, because Sudi says we all have so many questions.
Okay, let's go back to that. Click that Discord link. Because usually we set it up for an hour and then it expires. But if you if you go make a Discord, then you can be brought into the Discord. And and like tomorrow, holy crap, how long does it take to make a Discord? Robert, tell them about what we're doing tomorrow morning. Do you remember?
Yeah, we're going to be watching the 3-part series to Cyber Sleuths in my Discord.
Okay.
Dang it. Robert, when Sipa gets up, this is what we'll try to do.
Okay.
Go make a Discord, it don't cost anything, okay? And give me a little bit, and maybe I can get Sipa. Actually, I know he'll do it because he's just a great guy. But we could get Sipa to drop it to Robert, or give it to Robert to drop on his like community page, What do you think about that, Ashley? You think we could do that? I think we can. I think we could drop it to Robert's community page so that you could click on it and join his Discord, because we are going to have that Paramount Plus tomorrow. And it is at, just so you guys know, I'm going to tell you exactly what time it's going to be showing. Actually, a lot of people put a lot of stuff in this mod chat. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
True crime. That's the invite. My mind's going slow. I've been screaming at basketball. Basketball has me still stuck. Okay.
Here's what Ashley said is on screen.
She's always really good. Can you read it out loud? I was still looking at the thing. She's so quick. I love her.
Yes, T Rev does that all the time for members only. But if Robert wants anyone, he can do that too at Rock Chalk.
Okay, cool. We'll get with Sipa and figure it out. But the Cyber Sleuth tomorrow is episode 1 through 3. And each one of them is about an hour, 52 minutes, 55 minutes, or whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm Central Time. So it's at noon tomorrow for me, Central Time. And right now, it is almost 1 a.m. But we'll see if we can go make yourself a Discord if you haven't.
Okay.
And we'll see if Sifa can drop it in Robert's community chat. Give me a little bit so I can get a hold of Sifa and see if he can do it. But we'll get you in that Discord to watch it.
Okay.
Does that sound cool?
Yeah, I like it. I'm really interested because I think that I think the channel I love your channel, Robert. I think what you're saying and the time frame and everything, I do agree, because if I see a video that I really want to watch, sometimes I'll I probably won't watch it because maybe I don't want to watch something for 3 hours. And it could be really relevant. Maybe I really want to watch it, but I'm wondering if just make it easier to have a more congruent conversation.
Yeah, I will. I will tell you what I did in my Discord. Like it's a 3-part session, and what we do is we mute everybody, because say somebody comes in, if you come in and talk, what it does is it runs it for everybody. But we could discuss it. Actually, Robert could even do a live after that if he wanted to, and we could discuss what we watched in Cyber Sleuth. But I know
Okay.
we like Bianca. Now, Robert, this is your channel. I'm just giving you some pointers if maybe you want them. Like Bianca, she's over in Australia. She can't get Paramount Plus, so she's really excited to see it. So we'll see if we can't get the Discord opened up. Go to Robert. You have a community page, right?
Yeah, on my YouTube channel, yeah, I have a
Yes.
community tab.
Yeah. We'll get the Discord added there somehow. So just
Uh,
make sure you make a Discord.
Ashley Ann said we can open it up open it up to everyone right now and later on Discord. Will be members only most likely. So get in while you can.
She's right. Most creators do it, charge you for it, but Robert's not trying to do that. He's trying to make it an open platform right now for people to be able to enjoy. So anyway, so they shared the Discord. What you can do, make a Discord, go back to this live, and it might not just be an hour long, where you can actually click on. Does everybody know how to go into rewatch and see the live chats where you can click on it? Either way, when we get off here, I'm gonna try it, and if it don't work for me, I'm gonna try to make it work for you. Either way, we're gonna try to get it on his community page so that you guys can come join it. But yes, tomorrow at noon Central, and like I said, I'm at 1 a.m. almost now. So figure out your time zone. Noon tomorrow is Central on his channel, and we are at 1 a.m. right now. So you'll have to plan accordingly. And let me get off of here so that I can figure out how to get that to his channel so that once you got a Discord made, you can join his Discord. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Yeah.
And is that what you would like to do, Robert? I mean, this is your channel.
Yes, I'd like to do that.
Okay. Okay, I'll open my Discord. I clicked the link. The link didn't work.
Adam's going, if you get a VPN and set it to USA, you can watch anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it'd be
Bianca's
fun to
gonna
watch the
say,
Paramount Plus, so oh. I don't know why it's not working. Didn't work for anybody. Hold on. Let me make a phone call real quick. You
okay.
two talk for a minute. Everybody hang on just a minute. I'll be right back, Robert.
Okay.
Let me try something. I'll be back.
Yeah, that was really interesting what Steve G said. Yeah, it came out white. He was in the middle of saying white Sonata, and then he quickly caught himself, and then said white car. What do you think, Sophie? Sophie.
Yeah, can you hear me? Did I lose you?
Yeah, I can hear you. What do you think
Okay.
about that?
I'm wondering how much the Sonata looks like the Elantra, right? So, or because, and then I also wonder about that other white car that was like it had a number, like the 110 or the 100 and something other kind of white car that was there. Because the Sonata to me, because I have a Hyundai, and the only cars I've owned as an adult have been Hyundais. Those are the ones I've purchased for myself. So I'm curious, because to me the Sonata doesn't look like the Elantra at all, but to allude to that or to start saying that is very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think he meant?
I think he knows the truth, honestly.
Do you think that when he said, I know we're going to talk about it again, but that takes me like back to, there's so many other things going on here in just this, like the little things we've watched today, like the she was shot. Marietta said in the comments, or I think it was Marietta, somebody that commented about possibly saying, meaning like, because like clearly we would have heard gunshots. Had there been gunshots, that would have been heard. That there's no way people wouldn't have heard that. But Marietta commented like overdose.
True.
Which is like strange thing to say, but everything he said in that interview was like huge things, in my opinion, saying that everybody's being investigated. What?
Yeah. And let's go back to that real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that just made me go, what the fuck?
Yeah, because exactly. I know I've watched that before. I know I did because I remember that whole interview. But at the same time, maybe I didn't really catch that.
Because I've made myself vocal, people have reached out to me, and some of those people.
What people have reached out to him because he made himself vocal, I wonder.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, some people have reached out to me because I made myself vocal. Oh, what? Who's the some people?
Right. And did you need to make yourself vocal? Your daughter was killed.
If what I know is accurate, Steve, there's a massive amount of information. This case will open up other investigators to know that.
This case will open up other investigators.
Yeah, see, and that doesn't sound like just that sentence. What does that mean? That's not the people investigating this murder. Other investigators? He knows something that he's clearly can't say to us, but that's like so much.
Yeah.
Should we should
Is
go
that
ahead.
there's a whole nother level of data being collected on people, and
That
some of that will come out in this case.
what?
But,
There's a
this
whole
is
nother
that
level,
there's a whole nother level of data being collected on people.
right?
Yeah. Now listen to what he says here.
Other
Listen really
investigators to know that there's a whole nother level of data being collected on people, and some of that will come out in this case.
Thank you.
A whole other level of data
See, that's what
being
I was
collected on
saying.
people, and it will come out in the investigation.
Yeah, that's what I was saying the other day. Like when I was like, and how we keep going back to like the possible Bonnie and Clyde thing or whatever. Like the other things that are possible within this are so big. Like was there like a really big drug bust going on in this and that's what I wonder. That's what I wonder the most. Was something else going on there with something that they just can't discuss because they're not done with it?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Like if they tell us now, then their whatever huge deal that they're working on is messed up.
Okay.
Hey, Rock.
Did it show up?
What? I see Sipa, and
Well,
he's in here. He's in
he's
here with
not.
the link.
Well, he's
Oh,
not
there you go.
here. He's not here. He was asleep.
Oh.
It's his night off, but he also has. Maybe Ashley can say what it is, but he's got a sleep disorder that when he does go to sleep, he's really hard to wake up, and sometimes he falls asleep sitting up. Whatever
Yeah,
that disorder is, I don't want to misrepresent, but I don't have it
almost like
pulled up.
almost like sleep apnea.
Oh wow.
No, there's a name for it, but
Okay.
right now my brain is fried. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just exhausted. Okay, that Discord, that one he said is not gonna be an ending one. Did you guys click on it? The ones that tried? Could you tell me if it's working? The new one that he just put?
Bianca K says narcolepsy.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
But that
Yes.
that was really interesting, Rock. There's a whole other level of data, and talking about it's going to open the lines for other investigators.
Absolutely.
That's that's so much to me right now. That's like you can't tell us what else is going on because something else is still going on.
Right.
Yes,
I don't
Ashley, you
know.
can share the link.
See if it'll work. I need somebody to see if it'll work. I'm gonna try something else here before we get off here because I want to make sure that everybody that wants to see that gets a chance to see it.
Yeah, and he said it will all come out in the trial.
In 2 years.
Well, if it goes to trial next year, he made the statement it will all come out in the trial.
Like I said, just that little bitty clip has got me asking questions all over again,
Mm-hmm.
like big time. Trying to make sure this works for you guys.
Steve knows something.
Hold on. It looks like it's still saying invalid invite. Is anybody else saying that that's still saying invalid invite?
I'm getting invalid.
Okay, I'll be right back. Dang it. I'll be right back.
What do you think? What do you think they're also investigating, Robert?
That's what I would like to know. Because if it's a whole nother level of data that they're collecting on people.
Yeah, because that didn't sound like this kind of takes see again. It takes me back to the whole Papa Roger thing, but I don't want to dive down that rabbit hole now. But like, you know, it makes you really that's a huge question mark in my head. Like, what do you mean? He made it seem like they're investigating tons of people, not just like. Not like maybe Brian did it with one or two other people. It makes it sound like they're investigating a lot of people.
They might be. Because
Right.
you know they do have that Quad City drug task force going on right now.
Yeah.
They're in Idaho and Washington.
Yeah. It's ongoing forever. See, that's what now I wonder like is if somebody involved was like an undercover agent of some kind someplace.
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering.
No, you don't think it was one of those kids, but I don't know those kids. Maybe somebody did something wrong and had to be, you know, whatever those jobs are, where they're like, you're going to go undercover and you're going to narc on all these people or something. Who knows? The drug trade is crazy to me. I mean, I probably wouldn't understand it really.
Yeah, you're talking about CI, a criminal informant, and
Yes.
Yeah, and just look at it this way. Yeah, you had Bonnie and Clyde,
right?
Emma and Demetrius, who was arrested for murder because of
Right?
that overdose with the frat kid. The next day they walked.
Right. Which is like insane, just insane. There's no reason for that.
Yeah, they walked, and their charges were dismissed without prejudice.
Okay, I'm back, guys. Can you try that link, that very last one that I put at 104? I think that'll work.
Okay, Eric says Rock Chalk, it worked. Now there was an invite you click on. You click on.
Perfect. Yep, that's it. The very last one is the one that works. Hi, Heather Fitzgerald. I can't find Rick. He left me. It's a joke.
I think Steve G is referencing a few different things at the same time, but they are all separate things, meaning huge financial dealings are happening. That the level of information that is collected from us each day will be used to convict the accused FOG data, fog data.
What's fog data?
I don't know.
Wow.
It says will be used to convict the accused fog data.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I this one. Sometimes this is one of the times when I'm watching anything about this case, it just like floored again. Floored.
I said it was going to be at 12 p.m. Central Time, right?
Yeah, our time.
Right. I just want to make sure I'm putting that in there again too. Let's see one more time, and I posted that Discord one more time. So
you put oral mount.
I did what?
you're You're tired, Rock. Go home.
I told you guys. It's not very often I get that tired, but I'm tired. Okay.
Well, you
Oramont Plus means Paramount Plus, people.
got you. Okay. I think I can do that. I can't do tomorrow night, but I think I can figure that out tomorrow.
Okay,
You
so
guys,
the Paramount Plus is going to be at noon tomorrow at that Discord, and then
okay.
Robert's going to come up with the time Sunday, and we're going to go over every Steve G interview we can find, and also in Discord, if you want to send it to Robert, if you find one, send it to Robert because it might be one that we hadn't found, but we're going to dig and see what we can find and try to get all of them.
Yeah.
Holly
Yeah.
Berry, it didn't work for her.
Didn't work for you, huh?
Hmm.
You, I fixed the permanent link to be the right on. Hold on. Let me ask Sipa. He just messaged me. Oh, we're going to get it, guys. Sorry. I fixed the permanent link to be the right one.
It worked when I did it. Can I cut and paste it back?
Heather, Heather Fitzgerald said, "What are you guys collecting? It's the data that our phone apps collect, and then some. What are you guys collecting?"
We're not collecting anything. What do you mean?
All the videos for Steve G.
I'm sorry. No, we want to do all the interviews that
The
Steve
interviews, I
G
meant.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we just watched
Uh,
one that was 5 minutes long and everybody found something, it seems like.
Yep. Sifa just dropped another link.
Perfect. Try that one, people. That one should work. And he has having a narcolepsy episode. Sorry.
No, man, that's rough.
Okay, well, I'm gonna wind this live down.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm getting tired as well.
Yeah.
I want to thank AR Hayes for coming on panel. I know he had to jump off because his dogs needed to go potty. I want to thank you, Sophie, and you, Rock Chalk.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, both of you guys are great. Thank you.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
This has been an awesome panel, guys. Yeah,
And
I wish.
Sipa, thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sifa.
Yes, and thank you to all my wonderful mods, and thank you, Sifa and Bianca K and Sweet Surrender if you're still awake. And Ashley, and all,
yeah,
Ashley, and
everybody.
all my wonderful mods.
Robert, you
And
got a good thing going here. I'll just tell you, you got great people, you got great subs, you got great mods. You're a great person. You got a lot of great going for you. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish Pia could have came on panel, but I know she was busy with Tommy.
Right, you might message her though, because she hadn't seen the Paramount Plus either, and you have contact with her, and tell her if she wants to join the Discord that she can come watch Paramount Plus. And listen, if you join the Discord and you don't like it, you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings if you leave it.
Right.
Okay? We're all adults. Some things just don't work for everybody. I love Discord. You know, the thing about Discord that you hear bad things about is when you start talking about people badly and it causes problems, and we don't allow that. There's rules.
Yeah.
And nobody gets doxxed in there either. Absolutely nobody can get doxxed in there. That is the rule. But you can join it, and if you like it, great. If you don't, you know, it's on you. But at least come watch the Paramount and go with it.
Yeah, because I haven't watched that yet. I haven't watched the show yet.
You're not going to hurt Robert's feelings or anybody's feelings if you just join to watch that. But like I said, we have an Idaho 4 area that's got a lot of stuff in it, and you can put your stuff in it, and it's kind of like a research center. But there's a lot of stuff in there.
Very cool.
But yeah, Robert, I'm about to fall over.
Yeah. Are we wrapping it up, Robert? I love your outro, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm wrapping it up, Sophie.
All right.
Okay, I'm
Well,
stepping down, Robert, so you can say goodnight, everybody. Love you, chat. Sophie, love you too. I enjoyed my time with you. AR, if you're out there, let's do it again. And I'm out of here.
yeah, I'll go ahead and step down too, Robert. Everybody is so fantastic here. I'm looking forward to Discord tomorrow and Sunday.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
if you notice, if you notice my new little avatar,
Uh-huh.
Nina Kelly made it for me and left it in my Discord.
Okay, cool. I like it.
Yeah, so I instantly uploaded it onto my profile on YouTube. So now this is my new avatar.
It's great. All right, I'll step down. Bye, Robert.
Bye. Have a good night, Sophie. You guys have a good night. Thank you, Nina, for my new avatar. Thank you, Sifa, Bianca, Rock Chalk, Ashley, and all my wonderful mods. And thank you to all my wonderful subscribers and members. I'll see you guys in my Discord tomorrow, and I'll see you live Sunday evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, the true crime cult leader has left the building. Make sure you check under your bed for that boogeyman.